Chapter 1140. Weenie curled up in a corner and looked at the countless monsters around her. "Hi, Your Majesty, we meet again." Chen Zhao looked at a petite figure among the crypt demons. Of course, the so-called petite was only relative to other crypt demons. For humans, a body that was more than 3 meters tall was still considered huge. The other crypt demons immediately stood in front of their queen. Weenie looked at Chen Zhao in confusion. Did this Asian know about the monsters? But was he scared out of his wits? He actually wanted to reason with these monsters? Most of the crypt demons Weenie had seen ate humans. Even Lot was the same. If not for their special experience, Lot would probably be like the other crypt demons. To her, these monsters couldn't communicate with humans at all. Chen Zhao shrugged helplessly. "I didn't come with enmity, so I think we can coexist peacefully. I just want 2 boar monsters. Oh, the Nissan species." Chen Zhao didn't have any enmity, but the crypt demon's hostility didn't decrease. They seemed to want to attack Chen Zhao. "Your Majesty, you know that if I want to kill you, you won't be able to escape." Chen Zhao looked at the female crypt demon. Weenie didn't understand where this Asian got his confidence from. He was actually talking to these monsters in such a tone. From her point of view, Chen Zhao was seeking his own death. Chen Zhao looked at the surrounding boar monsters. If possible, Chen Zhao would just grab a wild boar monster and leave. But these boar monsters didn't have the ability to reproduce. To put it bluntly, they were naturally castrated. The Nissan species were very similar to the crypt demons. Or rather, they were like bees. They also had a female body and a group of males. The female body was used for reproduction. If the female died, a male would appear among the males and become the female body. Among the wild boar monsters, there were other Nissan breeds, such as the male breeds that bred with their mothers, the soldier breeds that protected the tribe, and the meat breeds that were provided to the crypt demons. The ones surrounding Chen Zhao now were the most common soldiers. They couldn't be used for reproduction. Only by obtaining the mother or a male seed would it work. To be precise, there were 2 of them. As long as there were 2 males, one of them would naturally transform and become a mother. Then, they would be able to reproduce into a race. Of course, the crypt demon definitely knew the exact process better than Chen Zhao. If Chen Zhao asked for the mother directly, they definitely wouldn't give it to him. However, if they wanted 2 male seeds, they would probably give it to him after considering the pros and cons. Of course, he also considered robbing them. But unless it was absolutely necessary, Chen Zhao wasn't willing to do this. After all, they were an intelligent race, not a bunch of wild beasts. Therefore, Chen Zhao preferred to negotiate with them peacefully. However, the crypt demons around him were filled with hostility. When the entrance to their ruins was discovered by humans, they had no intention of becoming enemies with humans. They would only attack when humans entered the ruins. But that time, Chen Zhao had used them to fight the humans head-on. As a result, they suffered heavy losses. Vinnie's nerves were taut, and her emotions were extremely nervous. She could feel that the crypt demons were about to attack. Beep! But just then, Chen Zhao's phone rang. The crypt demons jumped in fright. The encirclement, which had been slowly approaching, retreated a few more steps. Chen Zhao picked up his phone and saw that it was Fei Lai. "Chen, you're not coming back tonight?" "Oh, something came up. I'll be back later," Chen Zhao said. "You don't have to leave me dinner. Come back soon. I miss you." "Okay, darling." Chen Zhao hung up. Just then, his phone rang again. Chen Zhao picked it up. It was Klaus' voice. "President, did you solve your problem?" "Not yet. Do you need reinforcements?" "No need. Play in Las Vegas first. Come pick me up when I'm done." "Okay." Klaus hung up. Just then, the female crypt demon walked out. "Human, you shouldn't have come back here. I haven't settled the score with you for last time. Did you forget what you did to me? Huh? You can actually talk. You couldn't talk last time." Chen Zhao was very surprised. Winnie looked at the petite crypt demon in surprise. She was also very surprised. Crypt demons could talk. "Human, what do you want?" the female asked. "I want 2 Nissan species," Chen Zhao said. "Do you know what the Nissan is used for?" the female crypt demon asked. "Yes. How do you know?" "Your kind told me," Chen Zhao said. "There are other races?" The female crypt demon was surprised. Yes, their numbers are greater than yours. Which race told you to ask for the Nissan species? Yes. Have their Nissan species gone extinct? If they did, they wouldn't have asked for them from you, Chen Zhao said. What's your relationship with that race? We're friends now. Winnie looked at Chen Zhao in surprise. No wonder he dared to swagger into this place. It turned out that he was more familiar with these monsters than she was. However, it seemed that he had an old grudge against them. It was hard to guarantee that these monsters wouldn't attack him. If so many monsters were to attack, the man himself would be dead. Your Majesty, although you have the advantage in numbers, if a conflict really breaks out, you will definitely be the ones to suffer. Moreover, you will definitely die. If you want other heirs to replace you, then let's start a war. Crypt demons weren't stupid. The crypt demons weren't stupid. Their intelligence wasn't lower than that of humans. Therefore, Chen Zhao believed that the female crypt demon knew how to avoid danger. If he could threaten her before, he could do it again. Moreover, he'd let her go on his own. She should know how to choose. I can't give you the Nissan species. Why? The Nissan species we use for reproduction have been blocked by the Arachne. It's been a long time since we've replenished new Nissan species. Every time a new species is born, they'll be eaten by the Arachne after growing to a certain stage. There's nothing we can do. What spider demons? Chapter 1141. Who is she? The female crypt demon looked at Weenie. Weenie immediately grew nervous. She looked at Chen Zhao blankly. We came together, Chen Zhao said. She's injured. Can you help me take care of her? Weena finally heaved a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Chen Zhao would kill her directly. If I can help you get rid of the spider demons, can you give me 2 Nissan breeds? Sure. Now, of course, the sooner the better, the female crypt demon said. Then take me there. Also, tell me what's going on with the spider demons. The spider demons have existed together with our history. They always wander around our nests and are especially fond of the Nissan breeds we rear, the female crypt demon said. The female crypt demon said, every once in a while, our Nissan breeds would be attacked by Arachne. Many times, the Nissan breeds almost went extinct because of this. Can't you protect the breeding Nissan breeds? We've protected them, but the Nissan species are free-range. They will form their own groups, and we can't always send our own people to follow them. The Nissan species will often run to remote places, and those places are often very dangerous. The female crypt demon paused. Some places lead to the abyss. Their scent will be smelled by the spider demons in the abyss, and they'll be hunted by them. Since you can keep the Nissan breeds from going extinct for so long, you must also frequently get rid of the spider demons, right? Can't you get rid of them this time? There are simply too many Arachne this time. If we were to fight them directly, I might lose almost all of my offspring. Moreover, there are big Arachne crawling out of the abyss this time. I've already sent some of my offspring to probe them, but none of them returned. Weena sat on Lot's back. She also heard the conversation between Chen Zhao and the female crypt demon. To her, the spider demons couldn't even get rid of the crypt demons. It was even more impossible for Chen Zhao to do it alone. However, Chen Zhao didn't seem to realize this problem. After entering the entrance of the ruins, there was no light at all. Everything was in darkness. There wasn't even a signal. This made Weenie very anxious. In an unsafe environment, it was easy for people to lose control of their emotions. Moreover, the scorching heat underground would also cause one's thoughts to be muddled. What are the Arachne like? Their bodies are very large. Their larvae are about the same size as the largest among us, while adult Arachne can reach 3 times our size. The Arachne that appeared near our lair this time is led by a large Arachne. That Arachne is at least 10 times our length when its limbs are spread out. Chen Zhao gasped. So big. What kind of monster was this? Winnie listened to them from behind. It was as if she was listening to a fairy tale. According to the crypt demon's average length of 5 meters, 10 times their body length would be equivalent to 45 meters long. It was unimaginable what kind of monster it would be. After walking for 30 minutes, a light appeared in front of them. The light surprised Chen Zhao. Crypt demons were creatures that hated light, but there was light in their nests. But soon, he realized that it was a river of lava. This was a huge karst cave, and it was extremely large. Chen Zhao grinned. Even if he fell into the lava river, he would probably kneel down. Because Chen Zhao had the golden key, he could adapt to an environment that wasn't suitable for humans in a short time. But this didn't mean that he could instantly adapt to the temperature in the lava. The lava would kill Chen Zhao instantly. He wouldn't even have a chance to struggle. These crypt demons didn't hate light. What they hated was sunlight. But this was understandable. After all, Chen Zhao remembered that the crypt demons used to be vampires. They also inherited the vampire's aversion to sunlight. Soon, Chen Zhao realized that he was wrong. This wasn't the lair of the crypt demons. It was the arachne's lair. Chen Zhao discovered some huge creatures that looked like spider crabs in the lava. These should be the so-called arachne. The arachne's body was completely red. Its 8 long and thin limbs stood in the lava. It turned out that their bodies weren't as long as Chen Zhao thought. Instead, their limbs were more than 10 meters long. Their bodies were actually about the same size as the crypt demons. Not only could they survive in the lava, but they could also climb on the walls. However, they had a pair of huge pincers in front of them. They were very thick. When they discovered the approaching crypt demons, the 2 arachne immediately attacked them. The crypt demons also charged up and started fighting them. The male crypt demons had hard outer bones to protect them, but the arachne's huge pincers could still easily crush their bones. The arachne's limbs were also very sharp. They could also easily pierce through the male crypt demon's shells. Soon, a few crypt demons were killed, but the crypt demons still had the advantage in numbers. So, the 2 arachne were still killed by the crypt demon's attacks. Chen Zhao went to the arachne's corpse and checked it. We can only send you up to here. If you go deeper, you'll easily attract big arachne. It's up to you now. When he looked at Chen Zhao, she was a bit afraid. These crypt demons were going to leave both her and Chen Zhao here. She had some understanding of the crypt demons and knew that they could communicate. But these arachne behaved like wild beasts. She couldn't communicate at all. If she was left here, she would definitely die a horrible death. Chen Zhao walked into the cave. Lu jumped in with Winnie. How are you going to deal with the arachne? Winnie asked. Kill them, of course, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. But you're just one person. Most of the time, I deal with problems alone. This is different from the problems you've faced in the past. There's no difference. Chen Zhao turned to look at the entrance of the cave. The female crypt demon and her offspring hadn't left yet. Why aren't the arachne here yet? Chen Zhao called out. You have to make noise to attract the arachne out of the lava. Their vision is bad, but their hearing is very good. Fine. Chen Zhao took out a grenade from somewhere and threw it into the lava in the distance. Boom! The lava splashed red with red water. Chen Zhao threw another one. The effect was obvious. A arachne immediately jumped out of the lava. The arachne didn't attack Chen Zhao immediately. Instead, it used its huge pincers to knock on the shell on its back. What is it doing? Chapter 1142. Very soon, arachne began to emerge from the surrounding lava rivers. They came in all sizes. Winnie was in complete despair. Clenching his fists, Chen Zhao faced dozens of spider demons. Suddenly, an arachne pounced at Chen Zhao. Its huge claws swiped at Chen Zhao. In Winnie's eyes, the huge spider demon's claws were about to hit Chen Zhao. It could slap Chen Zhao to death. But the moment the claws grabbed Chen Zhao, he suddenly opened his arms. The claws were pushed away. The spider demon's claws couldn't close again. Crack! Chen Zhao tore the pincer off. Winnie's eyes widened as she watched the scene in shock. Disbelief was written all over her face. The spider demon's claws sprayed white liquid. The white liquid sprayed on Chen Zhao's body, but he felt very strange. The liquid seemed to be being absorbed by his body. The texture was very strange. Chen Zhao felt refreshed. So good. He was almost infatuated with the feeling. Chen Zhao tried his best to break the spider demon's claws. More liquid sprayed on his body. Chen Zhao smeared some white liquid on his hand and took a sip. The white liquid was as sweet as honey. Just then, the spider demon raised its sharp limbs and stabbed at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao kicked and broke the limbs. At the same time, he shot the broken limbs up through the spider demon's lower abdomen. The spider demon was quickly killed. Winnie's eyes were filled with shock. One had to know that even the crypt demons would need several of them to kill one of them. But Chen Zhao had easily killed one. After one of their companions was killed, the other spider demons became very excited. Chen Zhao bathed in the white liquid. The essence of the white liquid seeped into his skin, which also excited him. Another spider demon charged over. Chen Zhao was in a state of extreme excitement right now. He charged at the spider demon without any regard for his own safety. Winnie had thought that it was suicide. After all, the difference in size was too big. Plus, the spider demon had a hard shell to protect itself. But Chen Zhao shattered the spider demon's front claws and stabbed a piece into the spider demon's main body. Winnie finally understood why Chen Zhao had the courage to come here alone. Why could he make a deal with the crypt demons? This guy was simply a monster. Chen Zhao killed the two spider demons and absorbed the white liquid in their bodies. He even dug out their flesh and squeezed the liquid out. Suddenly, a boulder weighing more than 10 tons was hurled over from afar. "Be careful," Vinny shouted in alarm. The 10-ton boulder smashed toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao immediately controlled the dark serum. The dark serum under his feet suddenly expanded, but it was unavoidably contaminated by the surrounding lava. However, the strange thing was that the dark origin liquid did not evaporate. The lava was not extinguished by the dark original fluid. The dark serum and magma fused together. Under Chen Zhao's control, it turned into a red and black blade. He easily cut the boulder into two halves. Weena's face was filled with disbelief. What was going on? Chen Zhao was also surprised. He didn't know that the dark serum could fuse with lava. At this time, a giant arachne crawled out from the depths of the lava river and onto the cavern wall. The arachne's main body was more than 10 meters long. Each of its limbs was more than 20 meters long. Its two claws were like hammers striking the ground. This should be the big arachne. It was the one who'd thrown the boulder. It was obvious how strong it was. It was really too big. Chen Zhao looked at the big arachne. He could feel his blood boiling. There seemed to be something about this arachne that was attracting him. Chen Zhao charged at the big arachne without a care. The arachne along the way immediately stopped Chen Zhao. But right now, Chen Zhao seemed to be possessed. It was an instinctive impulse. He didn't even care about the arachne that came to stop him. The liquid formed by the dark serum and magma turned into countless strange-shaped blades. This was a real mountain of knives and a sea of fire. Instantly, dozens of arachne were cut open. At the same time, the dark serum seeped into their shells and extracted the dark serum from their bodies. Chen Zhao charged to the big arachne and tore its claws apart. Weena thought that this would be a thrilling battle, but the result was far beyond her expectations. It was a one-sided slaughter. When the big arachne appeared, it indeed displayed terrifying power. But Chen Zhao was even more terrifying. He tore open the arachne's shell. Chen Zhao saw a golden substance in the arachne's shell. It looked like magma. It was like crab paste and gave off an alluring fragrance. The big arachne wasn't completely dead yet. It tried to attack Chen Zhao with its claws. But Chen Zhao just laid it on the golden substance and stuffed it into his mouth. Compared to it, Chen Zhao was more like a man-eating monster. The golden substance was the same as the white liquid, but it was pure. Chen Zhao felt the power of the earth. This power filled every corner of Chen Zhao's body. It was as if every cell was absorbing the golden substance excitedly. Chen Zhao burped, but he was still stuffing the golden substance into his mouth. He didn't want to waste a single bit. He wanted to take all of the big arachne's power. It was the essence from the abyss. Whether it was the crypt demon at the entrance or Weenie watching at the scene, they were all frightened by the scene. Compared to the arachne, Chen Zhao was clearly scarier. Around him, there was a substance that was intertwined with darkness and flames. It was like a liquid, constantly churning. All the arachne were killed by the liquid. This was the power of the earth. Chen Zhao felt it, but it wasn't enough. Not enough, far from enough. This was the essence of the earth. Chen Zhao suddenly understood what Old Turtle had said before. Go to the depths of the earth and comprehend it. This was the essence of the earth. But the big arachne's earth essence wasn't enough for Chen Zhao. The glutton devoured all of the big arachne's flesh. Only an empty shell was left. Chen Zhao glanced at the upstream of the magma river. It was surging out from the depths of the cave. It was also where the big arachne had come out. Chen Zhao really wanted to charge in, but he wasn't confident that he could leave alive. Even if he absorbed the earth essence from the big arachne, it was only enough to satisfy his appetite. But Chen Zhao only had a preliminary understanding of the emptiness of the earth. In the end, Chen Zhao gave up on the idea of entering the magma river. Right now, he couldn't resist the heat of the magma. Perhaps he should continue training. With the Golden Key's ability to adapt and evolve, Chen Zhao believed that as long as he continued training, he could get used to the magma's temperature in no time. Chapter 1143. Chen Zhao returned to the entrance of the cave. All the crypt demons were even more wary of Chen Zhao. They couldn't see anything, but they knew what had just happened. Chen Zhao had slaughtered all the invading spider demons, including the big spider demon that he couldn't handle. When can I get what I want? Chen Zhao asked. Wait, the female crypt demon said. We need to enter the nest of the Nissan species. The male crypt demons started to enter the cave. There was a tunnel in the other corner of the cave. A while later, the crypt demons brought out some baby Nissan species. 2 of the Nissan pups were sent to Chen Zhao. This is our promise. You need the Nissan species. Chen Zhao picked up the 2 baby Nissan species. Most animals were quite cute when they were young. The Nissan species were the same. They were pink and tender, looking like domestic pigs. Oh, if there are more spider demons next time, I'll be happy to help you clean them up, Chen Zhao said. Even though Chen Zhao hadn't completely understood the earth, absorbing the earth essence from the big spider demon still improved him greatly. It was a real improvement. It was as if all the cells in his body were alive. The feeling was similar to falling from a high place, but it wasn't exactly the same. They were 2 completely opposite feelings, but they could both make his cells alive. Falling from a high place made his body feel light, as if he was going to ride the wind to the west. But the earth essence made Chen Zhao feel heavy, as if he was a huge rock. When he followed Chen Zhao out of the crypt demon's nest, the crypt demon sent the 2 to the door. Chen Zhao sent Winnie to where she'd parked her 4-wheeled motorcycle. At the same time, he drove a dozen kilometers away. Okay, Miss Police, I'll send you out of this restricted area and then call for help. Also, for the sake of your wrath, you better watch your mouth. Then Chen Zhao turned and left. Klaus parked the car where Chen Zhao had gotten off. He saw Chen Zhao return with the 2 piglets. Klaus was a bit confused. Chen Zhao had gone out for an entire afternoon and only brought back 2 piglets? Of course, Klaus didn't understand, but he didn't think too much about it. When he reached the headquarters, it was already midnight. However, he told Klaus to fly him to the crypt demon ruins. Klaus, are you coming in with me or staying here? Back in Las Vegas, Chen Zhao wasn't familiar with the crypt demon's lair, and there was quite a grudge between them. Therefore, Chen Zhao didn't want Klaus to take the risk. However, Chen Zhao wasn't worried about the crypt demons here. At least there wouldn't be any conflicts. Klaus had been here before, so there wouldn't be any danger. Guild leader, I can't stand the heat. I'll stay here. All right. Chen Zhao could understand that not everyone could adapt to such a hot environment. Chen Zhao carried the piglet into the nest. Soon, he encountered the patrolling crypt demons. Chen Zhao's scent was rather familiar to the crypt demons. The crypt demon took the initiative to lead the way. Chen Zhao followed the crypt demon and soon arrived at the underground pyramid. The old crypt demon appeared at the entrance of the pyramid. He smelled the little piglet in Chen Zhao's arms and immediately trotted over. Human, is that a Nissan in your arms? Yes, 2 young ones. Is that okay? Yes, of course. That's great. The old crypt demon was very happy. Chen Zhao put the piglet down. Oh, I heard that the Nissan species attract arachne, right? Human, you know about arachne? I've encountered Arachne before, Chun Zhao said. That's right, the old crypt demon answered. We also raised Nissan species in the past, and Arachne had a huge impact on their extinction. How about this? Chun Zhao said. I'll give you a way to contact me. If you encounter Arachne, you can tell me. I can help you for free. Human, you want Arachne, right? Yes. Chun Zhao didn't deny it. Our race has a way to find Arachne. Oh? A way to find Arachne? Chun Zhao's eyes brightened. Arachne's dung is the food of the earth locust, which is the food of the Nissan species, and Arachne like to eat the Nissan species, the old crypt demon said. For a long time in the past, our race didn't have any Nissan species, so we could only rely on the earth locust to survive. That's why we would search for traces of Arachne. Places where Arachne appear will usually leave their dung, so our race is very sensitive to Arachne's scent. Especially in our race, there are a few races that can detect extremely thin traces of Arachne in the air through their dung. If Arachne enters our nest, we'll discover it immediately. We also know the locations of some shallow Arachne nests. Over the past thousands of years, we've found many. How deep does this place lead to? Chun Zhao asked. Very deep. Using your human measurement unit, we've already found a depth of 10,000 meters. Chun Zhao thought about it and felt that it was reasonable. The crypt demon race wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. Without enough space to move around and a large enough ecological chain, they wouldn't be able to sustain the survival and reproduction of the race. Therefore, there must be an even larger underground transportation network here. However, even our race is unable to descend any deeper into the region. If I want to go down, will there be any problems? Since you want to chase Arachne, you definitely won't be afraid of them. But the deeper you go, the higher the temperature will be. There will also be other dangerous creatures. Arachne aren't the only dangerous creatures deep underground. There are also complicated underground caves. Your human senses are very weak and can't sense the direction. Chun Zhao thought about it. This was indeed a troublesome thing. The deeper he went, the higher the temperature, but the temperature was actually the least of Chun Zhao's worries. Russia had once excavated a cave that was more than 12 kilometers deep. The temperature at the bottom of the cave reached 180 degrees. This temperature might be fatal to most creatures, but Chun Zhao could endure it. But it was precisely the direction that became the biggest problem. Without Peugeot, it was easy for human senses to get lost. This was a basic human sense and couldn't be changed. Even well-trained soldiers couldn't change it, unless they had a super brain that could remember all the characteristics of the path. But I can help you draw a map, the old crypt demon said. You can draw. Chapter 1144. Chun Zhao suspected that if the old crypt demon could study further, he could definitely get a degree. Oh, you humans seem to like spider meat, the old crypt demon said. The old crypt demon said, although we don't like Arachne meat and find it disgusting, you humans like it very much. How do you know? Did you forget that humans used to live here? Chun Zhao just remembered that some human scholars have been locked up here. The old crypt demon's knowledge was also taught by those human scholars. If you want, I'll get some for you. You have crypt demon meat here. I just killed 2 spider demons 2 days ago, the old crypt demon said. Their race was much stronger than the crypt demons in Las Vegas. At least, they definitely outnumbered the crypt demons in Las Vegas. Give it all to me. I'll try. A while later, the crypt demon took out the dismembered spider meat. Chun Zhao also chatted with the old crypt demon about many things. They had a common understanding that working together was more beneficial than being enemies. They didn't have any conflicts of interest. The supernatural organization could give them some help. When necessary, they could also become the organization's combat power. When Chun Zhao returned home, it was already past 2 in the morning. Chun Zhao took the spider meat and put it in the space crevice. Recently, Blackie had been busy building his new home on the beach. Chun Zhao was used to living with Blackie. He also hoped that Blackie would move in with him. To live with Chun Zhao, Blackie also knew some human secrets. When both Chun Zhao and Fei Lai were in the bedroom, he wouldn't barge in recklessly. Plus, Chun Zhao and Blackie were used to doing research together. It didn't matter if it was magical or medical. Chun Zhao entered the space crevice. Blackie was instructing the inferior demons to load some materials. After the materials were packed, Chun Zhao transported them to the beach. Chun Zhao, why are you here today? I killed some underground creatures today. I heard they're delicious, so I'm studying them to make sure they don't have any negative side effects. Oh, underground creatures? What kind? Let's talk in a lab first. Chun Zhao took out a spider's limb. This creature is like an enlarged spider crab, but they have a pair of huge pincers that can reach up to 50 meters long. These creatures also have a milky white liquid that can slightly increase my power. The white liquid should be their blood, but the effect isn't obvious with the blood of a dozen or so spider demons. Chun Zhao took out a spider demon's limb and said, "This creature is like an enlarged spider crab." As he spoke, he extracted a small piece of flesh from the arachne's limb and placed it in a test tube, mixing it with the liquid. Chun Zhao had purchased a large number of medical machines in the lab for his and Blackie's research. In the space crevice, Blackie could use any equipment. After analyzing the components, Blackie handed a report to Chun Zhao. The flesh of this arachne is extremely nutritious and very beneficial to you humans. Blackie said, there's also a substance similar to crab amino acid, but it's different. This amino acid is very active. I soaked my bones in it and found that this amino acid can absorb other substances in the liquid and repair the bones. Oh, Chun Zhao was surprised. Amino acid was a chemical, but many plants and animals were rich in amino acids. The first amino acid he'd successfully extracted was from winter bamboo shoots. However, because amino acids were extracted from different plants and animals, there would be some differences in function. If some edible amino acids were added to dishes, they would become extremely delicious. Of course, synthetic amino acids were not suitable for consumption. Natural amino acids were the ultimate taste that humans pursued. For example, the reason why some seafood would taste so delicious after cooking was because it contained rich natural amino acids. After humans ate amino acids, they would not be absorbed directly. Instead, they would be broken down into small molecules by digestive enzymes in the stomach. Then, they would enter other organs through the bloodstream and be recombined into proteins before being absorbed by the human body. Why did people with internal functional injuries need to eat seafood for a long time? It was because many kinds of seafood were rich in amino acids. Amino acids could repair the liver and other parts. Moreover, this repair was selective. The low molecules after amino acids were broken down would remain in the bloodstream. Whatever protein an organ needed, it would automatically absorb the low molecules in the bloodstream and recombine in the organ. Therefore, some seafood was the first choice to nourish the body. However, pregnant women were not recommended to eat it because their body functions were not stable due to pregnancy reactions. If they consumed too much amino acids, it would worsen pregnancy reactions. Therefore, they could only eat little or no seafood. Some pharmaceutical companies made shark bone powder. It was quite effective for bone injuries. Chun Zhao and Blackie spent the entire night in the lab, especially analyzing and studying the amino acids of this crab. Chun Zhao found that the amino acids were very effective for bone repair. With sufficient nutrients, the effect was more than 10 times better than the body's natural recovery. Moreover, after absorbing the amino acids, the bones would become tougher. It was almost an instant effect for patients with osteoporosis. Good stuff, Chun Zhao exclaimed. Chun Zhao thought of Risfar's injury. It was a good chance for him to test it. Of course, Chun Zhao was not doing human experiments for no reason. He had to make sure there would be no side effects first. Then he could experiment. Chun Zhao and Blackie thought for a long time and named the substance bone amino acids. The next day, when Fei Lai woke up, she realized that Chun Zhao was not in bed. But before she could wash up, she smelled a strong seafood smell in the air. Fei Lai frowned. She thought that an inferior demon had made some seafood. She grumbled inwardly. She couldn't eat seafood because she was pregnant. Why would an inferior demon make seafood? But when she went to the kitchen, she realized that Chun Zhao was making seafood soup. Chun, how come you're making breakfast? Chun Zhao handed a bowl of seafood soup to Fei Lai. Here, drink it. What seafood is this? It's not seafood, but it tastes like crab. Fei Lai tasted it. The freshness spread in her mouth. Phew, so delicious. Chun, what's this made? Chapter 1145. Darling, I want more. Give me more. Sorry, darling, I can't. Chun Zhao covered the pot. You can't drink too much. Chun Zhao pushed Fei Lai out of the kitchen. She came out unwillingly. On the other hand, after Jerlin woke up, Chun Zhao filled a big bowl for her. Just then, Evely came too. Evely came especially early these days, because Chun Zhao was very busy every day. He was almost free in the mornings. So, Evely came early. Every time she thought about how Chun Zhao had taken 10 million from her, she felt depressed. She was probably the most miserable world champion in the world. Forget it. Thinking about the test last night, Evely lost her courage again. It smells so good. Evely entered the house and smelled the tempting aroma. Evely, you're here. Come and try my seafood soup. Delicious. What crab is this? Sea crab. Evely rolled her eyes. You said it's seafood soup. Of course, I know it's sea crab, but what kind? I'll get the chef to prepare some too. I can't buy it, Chun Zhao said. It wasn't the first time Evely had eaten ingredients that she couldn't buy from Chun Zhao. She'd been eating lunch at Chun Zhao's house every day, so she'd already eaten many ingredients that couldn't be bought from the market. Of course, she still coaxed and pestered Chun Zhao to get some ingredients. In the past, Evely wouldn't have imagined that she'd come into contact with such fresh ingredients. She didn't know how to differentiate food from food. More? Give me some. This kind of crab is not suitable for you to eat. This kind of crab will increase the weight and toughness of your bones. If you have some bone problems, you can eat more, but it will also increase the weight of your bones and slow down your swimming speed. Of course, the effect was actually very small. It might only be 0.1 seconds. However, for any athlete in a racing event, 0.01 seconds was a crucial time. For your food, I should consider retiring early. Of course, this was just a joke. All athletes were pursuing a longer career. Most of those who retired early did so for various reasons. Very few athletes say, I've earned enough money, so I don't want to compete anymore. There were also some athletes who had made too much money, which caused them to lose their conscience. They began to squander money and neglect training. The final result was a serious decline in their competitive condition, and they had to choose to retire. Evely, on the other hand, was very competitive. She did not want to end her career prematurely. Moreover, as long as she was still in the sports world, she had the highest moment of glory. Just like every actor hoped to become a superstar. Which superstar is willing to stay away from the camera? Who didn't want to be the center of attention forever? In the afternoon, Chun Zhao went straight to Risfar's house. Del was there too. When he saw Chun Zhao walk in with the box, he snatched it away immediately. Del, this isn't for you. Del knew very well that every time Chun Zhao brought food, it was always addictive. Whether it was wine, ingredients, or fruits, Del was sure that Chun Zhao would always provide the best. Del did not care so much. The moment he opened the box, the rich aroma of crab meat wafted over. Del, put it down. Chin gave it to me. Ah, my chest is starting to hurt again. Seeing that Del had snatched his thing, Risfar was furious. You're right. He also knew that Chun Zhao's gift was definitely good. Chun, where's mine? It's in my trunk, Chun Zhao said. Take it when you go back. It's very good for Johnny's injuries. Ronnie and Vera can eat it too. It's good for their development. Yummy. Del grabbed a piece of crab meat and stuffed it in his mouth. Chun Zhao sat down before Risfar. Johnny, if Del eats your portion, there won't be any left. This crab meat can cut the time you spend in the wheelchair by half. Risfar nodded. You're right. Del, you heard me. If you don't give it back, I'll tear your house down. Del's and Risfar's manors were less than 100 meters apart, so they often visited each other. Tear it down. I want to live in a hotel now. Oh, I heard from Del that you suggested the renovation of the hotel. Is that right? Risfar asked. Yes, Chun Zhao answered. If it was someone else's suggestion, Risfar might not accept it. On the other hand, Risfar trusted Chun Zhao's suggestion. See? I told you it was Chen's suggestion. Okay, let's do it. Actually, in China, many architects combined feng shui. This was because some elements of feng shui matched the characteristics of buildings. Feng shui could also be explained in a scientific way. I'm leaving now. Del, come with me to get the crab meat. Oh, Del, I'll be right back. Del followed Chun Zhao. After a few dozen meters, he asked impatiently, Chun, did Master agree to take me as a disciple? Chun Zhao glanced at Del. This is her address. Go find her yourself. I've already told her, but she said she needs to check your talent first. If you have the talent, she's willing to take you in as a disciple. If you don't, then don't mention it again. Also, before you have a master, don't call her master. You can't just call her master like that. Okay, I'll go now. You just told Johnny that you'll be right back. Now you're leaving him aside? Then when do I go? Decide. I'm leaving. Wait, where's my crab meat? Oh, I forgot. Chun Zhao took out a box of unprocessed crab meat from the trunk. Why is it so little? It's more nutritious than the taste. Share it with Faith when you go back. Don't finish it all by yourself. I'm asking you why Risfar has so much more than me. He's injured. You're not. That's not fair. Okay, I'm really leaving this time. Ignoring Del's complaints, Chun Zhao got into the car and drove away. Then he took out his phone and called Li Qing. Auntie Li, I already told Del. He should go find you in a few days. Del isn't a bad person. If he has the opportunity, Auntie Li, why don't you consider it? Chun Zhao's main concern was that Li Qing was all alone. Her son and daughter-in-law had both died in a car accident. She had to consider someone to take care of her when she died. In China, a disciple was like a son. Chapter 1146. The next day, Del went to the address Chun Zhao had given him. But he didn't go alone. He brought Fisher with him. Fisher, do you remember what I said? Remember, when you see a grandma with black hair and eyes like Uncle Chun, you have to call her Grandmaster in Chinese. Soon, the car stopped in front of the motel. Del carried Fisher out of the car and went to the counter. Checking in? How many rooms? Ethan asked, looking up at Del. No, I'm not checking in, Del said. I'm looking for Miss Li Qing. Can you call her out for me? Ethan couldn't help but raise his head again and studied Del carefully. He thought to himself, could Li Qing have offended this man? Who are you? Why are you looking for Li? Something. What? Del was unhappy to see Ethan asking so many questions. Why should I tell you? Li is my employee. She won't be soon, Del said proudly. Del's answer made Ethan even more certain that Del was here for trouble. Li didn't come to work today. Come tomorrow. Give me her address. I'll go find her. How do I know where she lives? Actually, Li Qing lived in the motel. Because of Chun Zhao, Ethan took special care of Li Qing. But on the other hand, it was also because of Li Qing's personality. She worked hard in the hotel, and she saved Ethan's life. Thus, Ethan was also very concerned about Li Qing. He didn't care who the man before him was. Even if the police came, he would still protect her. Dad, this grandpa is lying, Fisher said. Del looked at Ethan. He was unhappy, but he still said patiently, Listen, old man. If you give me her address, the 1,000 is yours. Ethan was even more unhappy. He didn't even look at the 1,000. Do I look like someone who needs $1,000? What do you want? I said that Li didn't come today, and she won't come tomorrow. Also, you're not welcome here. Do you know who I am? I just need to say the word, and I can buy this hotel. Why don't you buy it for me to see? This is my territory. Get out of here. At this moment, Li Qing came downstairs. Ethan, what happened? Li Qing walked to the counter and saw Del. Why are you here? Del put Faith on the ground. Greetings, Master. Grand Disciple greets Grandmaster. Faith Xue had practiced these words for an entire day. Li Qing was dumbfounded. So was Ethan. What was this? Ethan scratched his head. He had thought that Del was looking for trouble. But if this was considered looking for trouble, this method of looking for trouble was too unique. Or were they Li Qing's juniors? However, did the Chinese have such a strange custom of meeting their elders? Moreover, these two people, one big and one small, were definitely white. Or were they of mixed blood? Faith was a mischievous child. She raised her head and looked at Li Qing with teary eyes. Li Qing's heart trembled when he met Faith Shue's eyes. She's your daughter? Yes, master. Get up first. I haven't agreed to take you as my disciple. Master, if you don't agree, I won't get up, Dell said resolutely. Yes, don't get up, Faith repeated. Your daughter was born with wisdom eyes. She's good for cultivation. As for you, Li Qing looked at Dell. It's not that you can't cultivate, but your talent is mediocre. If you want to continue on this path, you'll probably be mediocre for the rest of your life. Dell immediately said, Master, Faith's eyes were born with malformed eyes. Chun cured her eyes. Oh, is it Mr. Chun? Li Qing looked at Faith. Her love for talent had risen. Get up first. Master, will you take me as your disciple? Get up first. Dell hesitated for a long time, still waiting for Li Qing's words. Just then, Faith stood up and pulled Dell up. Dad, Grandmaster definitely wants to take me in. There must be some test. Dell looked at Li Qing, who nodded. This little girl was young, but her mind was bright and she was very clever. She was indeed a rare talent. If she could inherit Qingyi's sect, she might be able to make it flourish. Mr. Ethan, I'll take them back for a while. I'll ask for an hour's leave. Master, I have a hotel. You can go there. You don't have to do anything. Dell didn't like Ethan. Li Qing glanced at Dell. Don't mention this again. I won't leave the hotel. Dell, shut up, feeling like he was asking for trouble. Ethan looked at Dell, gloating. Then he said to Li Qing, go. Li Qing took Dell and Faith to the backyard. Ethan picked up the phone. Chun, a father and daughter came to the hotel to find Li. They mentioned you. Who are they? You know that Annie Qing has some ghost-catching and demon-exorcising abilities. That night, I asked her to go to his hotel to exorcise ghosts. Then he felt that she was very capable and wanted to learn from her. Oh, where are they now? Did she agree? I don't know. Annie Qing took them to the backyard. Ethan hesitated, wondering if he should sneak over. Li Qing brought Dell and Faith to the backyard. You're Dell, right? Yes, master. I'm Li Qing, the current successor of Qingyi's sect in China's Taimu Mountain. There are 3 rules in our sect. Don't use our spells to do evil, don't rape, and don't cheat. You might be able to do it. Master, I can do it. Dell answered Li Qing's question without even thinking. What kind of question was that? Even without the rules, he wouldn't do such things. Also, your talent is mediocre. I'll teach you a spell. If you can learn it in 7 days, you'll become an official disciple of Qingyi's sect. Otherwise, our fate ends here. Dell looked troubled. Master, is it very difficult? It's the most basic spell, Enyang-I, Li Qing said. This spell isn't unique to our sect. Basically, all warlocks know this spell. If you can't even learn Enyang-I, you're really not suitable for it. Fine. Please teach me, master. This is the incantation. Take it and learn it yourself. Looking at the dense Chinese words, Dell got a headache. His current level of Mandarin was limited to his spoken language. He knew nothing about writing. Master, it's all Chinese. Chapter 1147. Dell looked at the incantation with a bitter expression. How was he supposed to practice this? He couldn't even understand it. Dad, you're so stupid. Doesn't Uncle Qin know? Ask him. Dell slapped his forehead. That's right. Qin Zhao knew, and he could teach him too. Dell immediately drove to Mirror Lake. When he reached Mirror Lake, Faith had already forgotten about her mission. She charged into the mansion. Jerlin, I'm here. Seeing that there was no one in the living room, Faith ran to the front yard. Seeing Jerlin playing in the lake, she jumped in without even taking off her clothes. Walter, who'd been dozing off on the shore, immediately jumped in. Walter was like a protective dog. It didn't matter if the kids in the water needed help or not. As long as the parents weren't around, he would follow. This was what he'd been taught since he was young. Dell walked in and saw Chun Zhao and Fei Lai lying in the sun. Chun, Fei Lai, Dell greeted. How was it? Did it go well? Chun Zhao asked. Chun, come here for a second. Just say it. Dell glanced at Fei Lai. Does Fei Lai know? She knows more than you do. Okay. Dell took out the incantation. This is the incantation my master gave me. Oh, I succeeded. Not really. Master told me to learn this in a week, or he won't take me in. Chen Zhao glanced at the incantation. It was a simple incantation. Okay, it was simple for Chen Zhao. Not to mention Chen Zhao's current level. Just the content on it was easy to understand. Pressing the Lingshu acupuncture point with his index finger, he filled his head with qi. Then he focused on his eyes. This mnemonic formula was introduced and explained in the most common vernacular. If it was a little more profound, it would be written in classical Chinese or even in a more obscure Taoist narrative form. Even Chen Zhao found it hard to read, let alone Dell. Chun, help me translate the content and then teach me. Chen Zhao translated the incantation into English and recited it. That's simple? Yes, but whether you can learn it or not depends on your ability. Then how do I know if I've mastered it? Let's go find a graveyard. If you can master this yin-yang eye, you will definitely be able to see anything unclean. Dell followed Chen Zhao's translation and turned to Chen Zhao. Chun, I feel like I don't need to practice at all. It's very simple. Very good. Since you're so confident, go to the graveyard tonight and try your yin-yang eye. Chun, come with me tonight. I don't dare to go alone. If a spirit controller doesn't even dare to go to a graveyard, how can he be a spirit controller? I'm not a proper spiritualist yet. Chun, come with me. I'm not going. Chen Zhao rejected Dell's request without hesitation. Wasn't it better to rub Fei Lai to sleep? Why would he follow Dale to the cemetery? Chun, come with me. I really don't dare to go alone. Chun, just go with Dell. Fei Lai felt that Dell was quite pitiful. Chen Zhao's face was gloomy. He should have just found an evil spirit. Why did she have to accompany Dell to the cemetery? Chen Zhao was confused. Dell didn't leave at all. He dragged Chen Zhao so that he couldn't leave even if he wanted to. After dinner, Chen Zhao was dragged into the car. Faith stayed at home. Fei Lai could take care of her, and Zhilin could play with her. She was already so happy that she didn't want to leave at all. Chen Zhao sat in the passenger seat with a dejected expression. Because of Chen Zhao's company, Dell's expression was relaxed. Dell, just find a cemetery nearby. Of course, the nearest cemetery was at least 50 kilometers away. After all, there couldn't be a cemetery in the city. Because Chen Zhao would occasionally go to the cemetery with Blackie, he was familiar with the cemeteries in LA and the surrounding areas. Lakin Cemetery. Ever since it was built, it had been surrounded by all sorts of rumors. All sorts of supernatural events would spread from time to time. After all, it was a cemetery. It would be strange if there weren't any supernatural events. The car stopped beside the cemetery road. Chen Zhao could occasionally see some ethereal figures. They were spirits, but they were all harmless. They didn't even have their own consciousness. They were all people who'd been buried here in the past few days. They would only stay here for 3 or 4 days. Then they would completely disappear from this world. Their consciousnesses would also disappear completely. They couldn't even reach hell. Sometimes, Chen Zhao wondered if they'd gone to heaven. But Dell couldn't see them. Dell first had to learn the yin-yang eye and then go through complicated preparations to barely see their ethereal figures. Chen, I'm ready. Can we start now? If you think we can, then let's start, Chen Zhao said calmly. Dell began to focus on the direction of the graveyard. He forced his eyelids open and then started exerting force. Chen Zhao was speechless at Dell's weird behavior. Use your own thoughts, Chen Zhao said, rolling his eyes. Don't make your eyes bulge out. I'm just warming up. Don't disturb me. Chen Zhao was even more speechless. You're the one who's wrong, and you're complaining that I'm noisy? I really shouldn't have come out with this asterisk shoal. More than 10 minutes later, Dell was still trying. Finally, Chen Zhao couldn't help but ask, how is it? Do you see it? Wait a bit more. It'll be done soon. Oh, there's spirits in the cemetery, right? Yes, Chen Zhao answered. He leaned against the window and looked in the direction of the cemetery. Ah, I see it. I see it. There's a woman in a black dress. She's looking over. She's noticed us. Chen Zhao saw it too, but the next sentence disappointed Dell. She's not a spirit. She's a living person. The woman walked toward Chen Zhao and Dell's car. Who are you? Why are you here so late? The woman sounded proud. Who are you? Police. Why should we answer your question? Dell said unhappily. He'd thought that the woman was a spirit, but he was greatly disappointed. Chun Zhao could feel that the woman in the black dress had a very powerful magic power. "We're here to relax," Chun Zhao said, smiling. "Relax? This is a cemetery. His parents passed away not long ago and were buried here," Chun Zhao said. "He misses them, so he came to visit. Is there a problem?" Dell was stunned. His parents had been dead for more than 10 years. Why would Chun Zhao lie? Chapter 1148. You're a woman and you're not scared. Why should we be scared? Dell was a simple-minded person. At least outside of business, Dell always spoke and acted without thinking. It was like this in the past, present, and future. Then whatever. The woman in the black dress looked at the two coldly and turned to leave. Crazy. Dell's voice wasn't loud, but the woman clearly heard him. She paused, but she didn't turn around to argue with Dell. Instead, she continued walking and soon disappeared into the darkness. "Do you know that you just offended a witch?" Chun Zhao asked with a smile. "Huh? Witch?" "That's right. She's a witch and a very powerful one. Why didn't you tell me?" "Forget it. She probably doesn't have any bad intentions. She didn't do anything to you either. Let's go." "Chun, are you sure she didn't cast any curse or magic on me?" "No, really. If you keep blabbering, I'll kick you out of the car and you can go back yourself. Then I won't ask anymore. What do we do now?" What do you mean? If you want to continue, then continue. If not, go home and sleep." Chun Zhao rolled his eyes. "Chun, how do you know that she's a witch?" "Of course. Do you think she's normal to appear here in the middle of the night? Maybe she's here to visit the grave." "Forget it. Let's go home and sleep." No. I need to master the yin-yang eye as soon as possible. Let's not practice in the grave. I'll find an evil spirit tomorrow and send it to your house. It'll follow you every day. If you master it, you'll know immediately." "No, I don't want an evil spirit. Do you want me to have nightmares if you let an evil spirit follow me? It's better than having you come to the grave every night. But fate's not safe at home. Forget it." Chun Zhao thought about it and realized that it made sense. Adults didn't care, but it wasn't good for children to interact with evil spirits. Chun Zhao's house was the same, even though he only interacted with supernatural things. However, he wouldn't let little Jerlin interact with Fei Lai at all. At the very least, he wouldn't let them come into contact with spirits like evil spirits that were left in the human world because of obsessions. If you want to practice the yin-yang next time, come to the graveyard yourself. I don't want to accompany you to the graveyard. Under a tomb in the Laken Public Offering Center. Below the tomb was a suite with all kinds of living facilities. At the same time, there were 3 people living in this tomb. One of them was Felisa, who had attacked him a few days ago, and her teacher, Sibylla. At this time, the woman in the black dress walked in from outside the tomb. "Mahage, where did you go?" Sibylla asked. "Teacher, I saw someone outside the tomb, so I want to take a look," Mahage said. "What about the other 2? Who are they?" "They are just ordinary people," Mahage said. Fei Sha looked at Mahage and said, "Mahage, are you sure those 2 are ordinary people? Maybe they're pretending to be ordinary people, or maybe they are agents of the Magic Palace." "Not really," Mahage said. "They don't know me. I used some magic just now, but they didn't react at all." "Mahage, the people from the Magic Palace are already in L.A., Sibylla said with concern. "They're looking for us now. It's best if we don't go out. If you or Fei Sha fall into their hands, it'll be troublesome." "Teacher, I understand," Mahage replied calmly. "L.A. isn't safe either. I didn't expect there to be such a powerful spiritualist in L.A. and a wizard at that." Sibylla looked at his bandaged left hand. "Teacher, you shouldn't have stopped me that day. If we work together, we can definitely kill that Asterisk Shoal. You didn't even know who he is and attacked him so casually. Are you sure the power behind him won't take revenge?" Sibylla scolded. "He attacked me first. He killed all the ghosts I raised. They were half a year's worth of hard work. It's fine if we're on vacation, but we're on the run now. You still want to provoke the local power? Are you afraid that you're not obvious enough? Am I just going to watch my hard work go to waste? We need to preserve our strength. We can't fight pointless battles," Sibylla said. "Look at Mahage. She knows how to endure and take a step back. She won't just attack people she doesn't care about. She's she, and I'm me. Feisha had always disliked Mahage. They were both Sibylla's students, but Mahage was always a head above her. No matter what, Mahage always seemed to be better than her. This made Feisha hate Mahage. Mahage did not react to her teacher's compliment. She just stood there calmly, as if nothing had anything to do with her. Teacher, we've been hiding here for more than 10 days. When will our plans start? Mahage asked. Not yet. I hired a special bodyguard. It won't be too late to carry out our plan after he arrives. Teacher, we don't need a bodyguard. I don't think any bodyguard can protect us, Feisha said. Unless you can hire Superman to be our bodyguard. You're right. The bodyguard I hired is Superman, Sibylla said with a smile. Teacher, this joke isn't funny at all. He's not really Superman, but he's very strong, Sibylla said. Just then, Sibylla's phone rang. Sibylla picked it up. Huh? You're here? Okay, I got it. Send it to me. Not long after, a truck stopped outside the tomb. The worker quickly placed a metal box on the road outside the tomb and left in a hurry. Sibylla, Feisha, and Mahage finally came out of the tomb. Feisha, move it in. Feisha lifted a finger, and the metal box flew up. What's inside? It's so heavy. The metal box looked like an iron coffin, but it was very heavy. It probably weighed more than a ton. After returning to the tomb, Feisha placed the metal box in the living room. Teacher, can I open this box? Yes. Sibylla nodded. Feisha cast a spell, and the nails on the metal box popped open one by one. Then, the lid flew up. A tall, naked man lay inside. Why is it a man? Feisha and Mahage were confused. There was a bright red X tattoo on the man's chest. Is he dead? Feisha asked, confused. Teacher, who sent this dead man? What's he for? He's our bodyguard. Sibylla walked up and slowly scratched the man's chest with his fingernails. Chapter 1149. When a man opened his eyes, there was a murderous glint in his eyes. Sibylla shook the remote control in his hand, and the man calmed down again. Mayam, how can I help you? Listen to my orders. Sibylla said, Any orders? Yes, Mayam. I will listen to your orders. Both Feisha and Mahage felt that there was something strange about this man. Previously, they felt that this man did not have any aura, as if he was dead. When he woke up, he had that cold and merciless look in his eyes. But because of a remote control, he had succumbed to his teacher. What's your name? I'm Exine. Teacher, who is he? Feisha asked. Our bodyguard, Sibylla said. Him? He doesn't have any magic waves on him. Teacher, are you sure he can protect us? What abilities do you have? Sibylla looked at X9. Proficient in all combat, firearms, and all means of transportation. Expert detection and anti-detection abilities. 15 times the human limit of strength, 8 times the human limit of speed, 9 times the human limit of reaction speed, 19 times the human limit of resistance, 6 times the human limit of recovery, 20 times the human limit of vision, and no sense of fear. Feisha was still not convinced. Teacher, I want to test him. X9, subdue her. Don't hurt her. Whoosh. Before Feisha could react, X9 had already disappeared before Feisha's eyes. Feisha felt a sharp pain in her neck. X9 had already appeared behind Feisha and strangled her. This doesn't count. He ambushed me, Feisha said unwillingly. Feisha, a loss is a loss. Have you forgotten what I taught you? Sibylla said, If we were facing the Magic Palace, do you think those witches or agents of the Magic Palace would reason with you? Or a one-on-one fight? And the man who defeated you the other day, he has the same characteristics as X9. That man. Feisha's eyes suddenly exploded with anger. But before that, we need to find Rupert first. Teacher, are you sure it's okay for the 3 of us to meet? Mahage asked. Of course. Do you have any questions? Sibylla asked. According to the Eastern sage's explanation, after the seal is completed, Feisha, Rupert, and I can't meet each other, let alone touch each other. The demon souls in our bodies will merge into one the moment we touch each other, releasing the sealed demon. The demon's soul isn't a threat. The demon soul is just a spirit. Although it also possesses great strength, it needs a body to sustain its soul after breaking the seal. So, we'll prepare a body for it, a body that's decaying and on the verge of collapse. As long as the demon's soul enters this body, it will decay along with the body. We'll be able to easily defeat this demon, and we'll be able to do something that even the magic temple can't do. Teacher, I think this is too risky, Mahage said. Coward. Fei Sha looked at Mahage and said provocatively. Facing Fei Sha's provocation, Mahage remained expressionless. Did Rupert cause any trouble in the past 2 days? Chen Zhao felt that it was definitely because he'd gone to the cemetery last night that he was covered in bad luck. Anyway, he just didn't like everyone today. President, she's very obedient. Obedient? How so? Apart from practicing magic, she rarely leaves her room. What does she practice magic? Did she hurt anyone? Chen Zhao just wanted to find an excuse to punish someone. No. Then did she say anything provocative? No. I know her. She won't be so obedient. Keep an eye on her, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Whatever, I'll go to the Tower of Trials. Since his plan to find an excuse failed, Chen Zhao could only enter the Tower of Trials and vent on the monsters inside. Chen Zhao entered the 7th floor. It was a place filled with magma. The volcano in the distance continued to erupt. A large amount of magma and volcanic ash burst out from the volcano and then splashed over an area of tens of kilometers. Just then, a ball of burning rock shot over from the distance, dragging a trail of black smoke behind it. The rock landed before Chen Zhao. Then a 10-meter-tall rock giant stood up. The rock giant's body was burning with a high temperature, and the magma was flowing on its body like its blood. Hellfire. That was the name of the rock giant. Immediately, another hellfire descended from the sky, and then another. They were like meteors falling one after another. Chen Zhao studied the hellfire. It was very strong, and there were many of them, but it didn't seem to be as difficult as the demons on the 6th floor. Just then, the hellfire attacked. A hellfire smashed toward Chen Zhao with a scorching fist. Chen Zhao also threw a punch at it. Bang! Hellfire's fist was shattered by Chen Zhao, but Chen Zhao howled in pain and took a step back. Chen Zhao looked at his left fist. It was burned. The hellfire stomped over again. Chen Zhao hurriedly used Qingyi Cloud to wrap his body with magic. With Qingyi Cloud's protection, Chen Zhao wasn't hurt anymore. The hellfire was covered in boiling rocks or magma. If Chen Zhao only used his body, he would be easily burned. However, using Qingyi Cloud would consume a lot of his mana. One had to admit that the hellfire's characteristics put Chen Zhao in unprecedented danger. Chen Zhao took out the bronze sword. Qingyi Cloud couldn't last for too long, after all. If it was just a single enemy, using Qingyi Cloud to reduce the enemy's attack power was quite effective. But if there were too many enemies, Qingyi Cloud would become a burden instead. Holding the bronze sword, Chen Zhao smashed a hellfire's head with one slash, then another. But something unexpected happened. The bronze sword was shattered. It was shattered. The bronze sword had been with Chen Zhao for a long time. He never thought it would shatter. It had accompanied Chen Zhao and defeated one strong enemy after another. Chen Zhao had never thought that the bronze sword would shatter. This caught him off guard. A hellfire fist sent him flying. Holding the broken sword, Chen Zhao didn't react at all. Just at this moment, another hellfire attacked. Chen Zhao hurriedly used the dark serum mixed with red magma to cut open another hellfire. Chapter 1150. The bronze sword was just a regular weapon, after all. Perhaps the craftsmanship was not bad, but in the end, it could not be invincible, nor could it be indestructible. Chen Zhao put away the broken sword. He'd used the bronze sword time and time again to defeat strong enemies. He'd almost forgotten. It was actually just a regular sword. The dark serum turned into the shape of a huge bronze sword, but the blade was black and red intertwined. The dark serum wasn't pure anymore. Ever since it absorbed the magma, it had been in this black and red state. It wasn't a simple mixture. It was more like a chemical reaction between the dark serum and the magma, making the two become one. But the dark serum had become even more powerful. The dark serum now couldn't be called dark serum anymore. Perhaps it should be called dark lava. The dark lava transformed into a giant sword and swept out with unparalleled might. Dozens of hellfires were cut in half at the waist. Another slash, and dozens more hellfires were killed. With just 2 slashes, the hellfires had already killed over 100. But Chen Zhao found it strange that he didn't receive a notification that he'd passed. The hellfires didn't retreat because of this. In the past, as long as you killed more than 100 monsters, the monsters would retreat. But the hellfires were still attacking Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao frowned and looked around. The dark lava was powerful, but it also consumed a lot of mana. He'd killed over 100 hellfires with 2 slashes, but he'd also used up half of his mana. Ever since he'd reached ultimate transformation, his mana had been very durable. In the past, he needed 10 points of mana to attack, but now he could do the same with just 2 points. Chen Zhao thought about it. If he used the zither to control the stone swords, the effect probably wouldn't be good either. If he used the bronze sword to attack, it would shatter. The stone swords were too fragile. If he used it to attack enemies with flesh, it would be good. But if he used it to attack enemies with extremely hot hellfires that were also made of stone, the 12 stone swords would probably be destroyed too. So, using the dark lava to attack was clearly the best. But while the dark lava was powerful, it also consumed more mana. Plus, he didn't know how many hellfires he had to kill to pass the 7th level. He could also use a clone, but it wouldn't be good here either. After all, the strength of the doppelganger was weaker than the main body. If the main body could be scalded, the doppelganger would probably suffer even more serious burns. Perhaps he could try that move. Chen Zhao started to gather the dark lava. It wrapped around him and even seeped into his body. This was the effect of the king of Wrath's bloodline. The dark origin fluid could fuse with an abyss devil with the king of Wrath's bloodline and greatly improve their bodily functions. Chen Zhao's body turned into a strange black and red state. Some parts of his body could also change at will. Chen Zhao's arms turned into 2 blades. He moved and instantly appeared on Hellfire's shoulder. With a gentle wave, Hellfire's rock head rolled off. Chen Zhao adjusted his body so that he could get used to the feeling better. The feeling of the dark magma fusing with his body was very strange. He could clearly feel the changes in his body. However, this change did not mean that he had reached perfection. Instead, his body and nervous reactions had undergone great changes. For example, the increase in speed made it harder to control the body. If the speed of the body was faster than the reflexes, it was easy to lose control. For example, if the power was greater than the control, one move might cause the body to lose control. Chen Zhao needed to readjust and find a feeling that suited him best. The dark magma wriggled on Chen Zhao's body again, making his limbs more symmetrical. Hellfire's individual strength was the type that was neither strong nor weak. Their individual strength was stronger than other giant monsters of the same type. For example, the twisted monster on the 2nd floor was far stronger than the twisted monster in both strength and speed. However, it was not so strong that Chen Zhao needed to go all out. Therefore, many of the battle tactics and methods that Chen Zhao was used were not effective on Hellfires. This also forced Chen Zhao to abandon his old habits and find new ways to fight. After making some adjustments, Chen Zhao jumped onto another Hellfire. His arm turned into a 2-meter-long blade. With another slash, the Hellfire's head was smashed. Chen Zhao shook his head. It was still not the perfect form. He was going to cut open the Hellfire's head, but it was smashed instead. The result was the same, but the process was different. Smashing it would definitely use up more stamina and magic power. He had to speed up and make the blade made by the dark magma sharper. Chen Zhao kept fighting and trying in the Hellfire. In the meantime, Chen Zhao was also attacked and injured. Chen Zhao had already killed more than 200 Hellfires. It seemed that the 7th level was much more difficult than the previous 6. Chen Zhao finally found his best form. All his body movements became extremely smooth. He felt like it was his own body. Every time he killed a hellfire, Chun Zhao would count in his heart. 793, 794, 853, 944, 999, 1000. Past the 7th level. Score D-. Save progress and leave, or enter the next floor. At D-, a very low score. Chun Zhao was already very tired. The 7th level was already so difficult. The 8th would definitely be even more difficult. So, there was no need to continue. Chun Zhao left the Tower of Trials and entered the power room to replenish his magic power. After coming out of the power room, Chun Zhao was full of energy again. The power room was like a charger for Chun Zhao's magic power. In the headquarters of the association, Chun Zhao had limitless magic power. As long as he stayed in the power room for a few minutes, he could easily fill up his magic power. Of course, the power room wasn't suitable for wartime. If it was a battle, the enemy wouldn't let Chun Zhao rest in the power room for a few minutes. Suddenly, Chun Zhao had a whimsical idea. If he installed an electric discharge device around the entire association, he could discharge electricity when needed. When needed, he would discharge electricity. His Eye of the Thunder would directly attract the electric current and not harm his subordinates. That way, he would almost be undefeatable in the association. But if he wanted to install such a device, he probably wouldn't even be able to afford $10 million. Whatever. It was only the beginning of the year, but he'd already used up a few $1,000,000. Chapter 1151. Emily's training had already ended. 3 days later, it was time for the sports meet, which was held at the San Diego campus for a week. Chun Zhao was reluctant, but since he'd already promised right, he could only go as the leader. Fei Lai, let's go to San Diego together. Chun Zhao really didn't want to be away from home for a week and not see Fei Lai and Zhurlin. So, he wanted to go with Fei Lai and Zhurlin. Okay, I'll go. Chun Zhao had told Fei Lai many times already. Fei Lai really didn't understand why Chun Zhao would accept the job if he didn't want to go. Chun Zhao couldn't help it. Rai just liked to take advantage of her seniority. Rai didn't speak often, but when she did, it was usually an opportunity. Chun Zhao couldn't reject her. She'd also stayed in China for more than a decade. She knew Sun Tzu's art of war too well. She knew how to play hard to get. Chun Zhao really couldn't beat her. I'm going to San Diego tomorrow, Chun Zhao said. You go on the 27th. Chun Zhao had to go earlier because he was the leader. He couldn't go on the day of the competition. Chun Zhao had to arrange accommodations for the participating students and understand the competition process. The students were all adults, but they were still students of the school. The school still had to be responsible for them. For example, he had to manage and implement the rules and regulations during the competition. The sports day wasn't a professional sports day, but it received a lot of attention. This was because every school more or less had a few star students. For example, UCLA's Evelyn Tiger. Evelyn didn't need to be mentioned. She was a world-class athlete. Speaking of American athletes, Evelyn couldn't be avoided. She was the holder of many world records and the first swimming legend to break the men's world record. Tiger was the WBA gold belt winner last year. He also received a lot of attention. Tiger's journey in the WBA had been too outstanding. He didn't lose a single one of his 13 matches. 6 of them were KO'd in the first round. His average time was less than 15 minutes. One of the famous boxers had even been hit by Tiger's heavy punches and had to retire from the boxing world. Of course, there was another reason. Last year, an underground dealer had tried to manipulate Tiger's matches. Tiger's tough counterattack was also praised by many boxing enthusiasts. They thought that he was a sportsmanlike athlete who was not afraid of power. Evelyn and Tiger were both star athletes. Because of their participation in the competition, there were sponsors and TV stations broadcasting it live. The other schools had many star students too. There were even 1 or 2 student athletes who were as famous as Tiger. It had to be said that the United States sports training was nurtured from a young age, and it permeated into the hearts of every citizen. In this regard, the other countries probably couldn't catch up. However, there was no way to compare them. Take China, for example. The number of stadiums was different. All the stadiums and basketball courts in the country had basically been occupied by square dancing. In addition to the participating students, there were also a few cheerleaders who were going to support them. These cheerleaders were basically the most popular girls in the school. There were also some students who went to cheer for their classmates. Chun Zhao had to manage all of this. The next day, Chun Zhao went to school. There were 10 buses parked in the school's parking lot. The coaches, or PE teachers of each sport, were managing the students. Chun Zhao couldn't manage more than 100 students by himself. Therefore, there were still some coaches helping him. For example, Robert. He was now Chun Zhao's confidant. The little tricks that the other coaches were up to were all passed on to Chun Zhao by Robert. The coaches hated Chun Zhao to death, but they hated Robert even more. They felt that Robert was a traitor. Are the students all here? More than 10 students already said that they'll go to San Diego by themselves. Among the students who didn't report, only the track and field club is missing one person. Because Los Angeles wasn't far from San Diego, some students didn't want to squeeze in the buses. They wanted to drive themselves. Chun Zhao didn't care about this. They just had to be there on the day of the competition. Chun Zhao looked at the time and said, 10 more minutes. The other students can get on the bus. 10 minutes later, the late student arrived. Okay, let's go. The 10 buses drove out of the school. Chun Zhao sat on the bus at the front, resting with his eyes closed. The students on the bus were very noisy. Chun Zhao couldn't be bothered with them. They were at the most active age. Plus, they played sports, so they were full of energy. San Diego was considered a relatively large city, but the most famous thing in this city was the gangs. San Diego's gangs were also world famous. In America, each state and city had different policies. Some cities were suitable for gangs, while others weren't. San Diego was a suitable city. There were 3 powers here. One was the old mafia in San Diego, the Jarovitz family. They were originally based in New York, but they were forced to move to San Diego by the New York government's policy. They were the more law-abiding type, and many of their businesses were between the underworld and the underworld. One of them was the Mexican gang. They were also the most ferocious gang. The last one was from Colombia. It was a gang that escaped from Pablo Escobar's era. They were also called the Colombian Gang. If you're interested, you can search for Pablo Escobar on Baidu. The Colombian gang had the weakest foundation, but they were no less ruthless than the Mexican gang. The Mexican gang and the Colombian gang also had the most intense conflicts. Their businesses overlapped greatly too. For example, drugs, gambling, firearms, and prostitutes. 10 years ago, there would be fights between the two gangs almost every day. In recent years, the government's policies had changed. They'd started to manage the gangs with high pressure, so they'd been much more restrained. Suddenly, Chun Zhao smelled something. He opened his eyes and stood up. Then he started walking back. Every time he walked past a seat, he would size it up with his eyes. When he reached the last seat, his gaze fell on a tall boy. "Come with me," Chun Zhao said. Chapter 1152. There's a problem, Chun Zhao asked. Do you want to come with me? Or do I have to force you out? Teacher, if you can't tell me your goal, I'll report you, the tall guy said, annoyed. Sure, this is the principal's number, this is the police's, and this is a reporter I know. Call whichever you want, Chun Zhao said calmly. The tall guy's expression turned unnatural. Teacher, I was just joking, but I don't know what I did wrong. I told you to come with me. Don't you understand me? In the end, the tall guy stood up and followed Chun Zhao to sit at the very front. Take it out, Chun Zhao said, looking at the tall guy. The tall guy looked troubled. What? I don't want to say it again. If you continue to refuse, you're done for. Chun Zhao stared coldly at the tall guy. Teacher, you have to think it through. School, police, you're already an adult. The tall guy's face was filled with pain. Teacher, this isn't mine. I'm helping someone deliver it to San Diego. Take it out, Chun Zhao yelled again. He didn't care who it belonged to. Something like this had appeared in his team. Moreover, it wasn't a small amount. Everyone knew how widespread drugs were in America. However, Chun Zhao didn't expect someone to transport drugs among the students. After all, this was a serious crime. If Chun Zhao had pointed it out, just now, the tall guy's life would be completely ruined. The school would definitely expel him. More importantly, he'd face a criminal trial. Every year, the police would catch hundreds of thousands of drug traffickers. More than a third of them were students of all ages. Some people knew that it was for temporary benefits. Some people were completely kept in the dark. Chun Zhao didn't notice it when he was driving. However, the car was sealed, so Chun Zhao quickly smelled it. Compared to other drug traffickers, students were undoubtedly the safest and safest. Chun Zhao reached out and was about to take something out, but the tall guy immediately resisted. Chun Zhao pressed the tall student down on his seat. If you continue to resist, the school will know about you. Teacher, I can't give it to you. If I give it to you, I'm dead. If that's the case, then go and explain to the police. Chun Zhao hated drugs deeply. This originated from his time as a doctor in China. Chun Zhao had once saved a woman. Her husband had forced his wife to sell her child and jump down from the 10th floor because he was collecting money for drugs. In Chun Zhao's opinion, it was unforgivable for anyone to touch drugs other than for medical purposes. Chun Zhao hated drugs. Moreover, if the car was inspected by the police and the student was found to be hiding or transporting drugs, Chun Zhao would also be held responsible. Chun Zhao threatened the student with his phone. The student finally gave up resisting. His body was trembling slightly. He sat on the seat and buried his head between his legs. Chun Zhao took out a bag of drugs from the student. Chun Zhao smelled it and knew what it was. It was DA, also known as ecstasy. Most of these things would flow into nightclubs, bars, nightclubs, private parties, or even the hands of students. There was even a survey that showed that 90% of high school students knew where to buy this thing. The bag weighed about 2 kilograms and contained 2,000 granules. It's worth more than $100,000. He estimated that he would be able to earn $1,000 in transportation fees for a single trip across cities. Chun Zhao crushed all the granules into powder and poured it out the window. That's the end of the matter. Do you understand? Go back to your seat. After a 3 to 4 hour drive, the bus all arrived at Buffy Hotel in San Diego. Chun Zhao had to check in every student. Thankfully, he'd already made an appointment, so the process was rather easy. Each room was for 2 people. Chun Zhao got a suite for himself. Knock, knock. Chun Zhao's door rang. The door's open. Come in. Evely walked in and looked at Chun Zhao's luxurious suite. Chun, you really know how to enjoy life. I don't want to suffer, Chun Zhao said calmly. At least it's within my abilities. Do you want something to drink? No. How about going out and playing? I grew up in San Diego. I'm very familiar with the place. No. Chun Zhao thought of the first time he'd met Evely. It was on the train from San Diego to Los Angeles. That was also when he'd met Gaia. Of course, it wasn't a happy time. Today's free time. You can walk around. Whatever. It'll be boring if you don't go. How about we go for dinner? Okay, let's go. Just then, Robert called. Mr. Chun, can you come down for a while? A few people came to the hotel and want to take our students away. Okay, I'm coming. After hanging up, Chun Zhao said helplessly, looks like we'll have to postpone dinner. Chun Zhao hurried to the floor where the students lived. He saw a few PE teachers and coaches standing at the door. Before them were a few gangsters who didn't look like good people. Robert, what's happening? They want to take our students away. Chun Zhao glanced at the room. It was the tall students. Guys, why are you looking for my students? Sir, we're friends with Pierre. We're here to play with him. There's a party tonight. You don't mind, right? No, I don't mind, Chun Zhao said immediately. I'm the leader of all the students. I'm in charge of where they go. Pierre is grounded because he made a mistake. He's not allowed to leave the team. Hey, Asian monkey, do you know who we are? Bang! The blabbermouth gangster's head was pressed against the wall. There was even a mark on the wall. Oh, who are you? Tell me. But by then, the gangster had already fainted. Seeing Chun Zhao attack, the other gangsters immediately charged at him. Chun Zhao punched them one by one. Every gangster's head was broken and bleeding. Robert, call the police and complain to the hotel. Why did they let these unknown people in? I hope the hotel can give us an explanation. Otherwise, our school will sue the hotel. The PE teachers, including Robert, were all shocked by Chun Zhao's ruthless methods. Chapter 1153. They'd long heard that Chun Zhao could fight. However, the teachers in the school didn't have a clear understanding of what Chun Zhao meant by fighting. Now, they probably understood. With so many gangsters, Chun Zhao felt like he was dealing with a few bugs. Okay, go back. Chun Zhao waved his hand. San Diego wasn't really a dangerous city. The gangs here usually focused on their own businesses and wouldn't attack ordinary people. Because of the government's high-pressure policies, the gangs were much more restrained. However, if someone provoked them, they'd take revenge like mad dogs. Chun Zhao didn't take it to heart. After all, he'd killed many gangs before. For example, last time in Mountain Town, he'd realized that the gang in town seemed to have bad intentions towards him. The next day, all the members of the gang had disappeared from the face of the earth. Of course, the gangs in Mountain Town were actually a bunch of small, unorthodox gangs. They were completely different from the local gangs in San Diego. Pierre spent the entire night in fear. Late at night, he received a phone call. A cold voice came from the other end. Pierre, do you think that the school can protect you and your family? Pierre was scared out of his wits. What he feared the most was that this would happen. From the moment he'd become a drug carrier, there was no turning back. Boss Bob, I didn't plan to betray you. The things were discovered by the school's teacher. He threw them all away. Pierre tried to explain. I don't care where they are. Get out of the hotel right now, and we'll settle this. Pierre's face was filled with bitterness and fear. Boss Bob, I'll think of a way to pay you back. Please let me go. If you don't get out of the hotel in 10 minutes, you'll find your house on fire tomorrow. Oh, I remember that your sister is 17 this year, right? Huh, I'll come out. I'll come out. Pierre yelled in terror. He knew very well that these vicious gangs could do anything. They were capable of anything. The moment Pierre walked out of the hotel, he was thrown into a car with a black cloth draped over him. When the black cloth was removed, Pierre was thrown out of the car. Pierre found himself in a port. There were containers all around him. Pierre soon knew where he was. This was the legendary port of San Diego, a hidden port. Although Pierre wasn't a gangster, he had heard of the Port of Sin in Santiago. It is said that every year more than 50,000 women and millions of illegal organs are packed into containers and shipped around the world. Other than that, a large number of firearms and drugs entered the United States through this port. However, this port had evaded the police and the spy satellites. There was a large ship docked at the port, and the container handlers were lifting the containers down. The entire harbor was bustling with activity. Then Pierre beheld Bob's bloated and hideous face and his menacing underlings. Hi, Pierre. Boss Bob. You're really brave. The people I sent are all in the hospital now. That wasn't done by me. It was done by a teacher from our school. I heard it's an Asian, right? Yes, call him. I want to see him, Bob said. I don't have his number. Pierre wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He was so scared that he almost wet his pants. Ring, ring. At night, Chun Zhao was woken up by a phone call. Closing his eyes, Chun Zhao fumbled for the phone. He really should have muted it. Hello, who's this? Mr. Chun, it's me, Robert. Pierre's roommate just came to find me. He said that Pierre received a call and left in a hurry. It's been an hour, and he's not back yet. He can't get through to him either. Pierre? Which one? The one who was harassed by the gangsters today. Oh, got it. Chun Zhao sat up, looking like he had just woken up. How fucking unlucky. He had thought that he could have a nice vacation in Santiago. He didn't expect to run into something like this again. As soon as Chun Zhao hung up, another call from an unknown number came in. Hey, you're a teacher from UCLA, right? That's me. Who are you? Huh. People here call me Bob. Of course, you can also call me Crocodile. Sir, do we know each other? Chun Zhao interrupted Bob. It wasn't easy to find your number, Bob said to himself. I had to go through many layers of connections to find your number. Can I get to the point? Chun Zhao said impatiently. I want to meet you. I don't like meeting strangers in the middle of the night, Chun Zhao said calmly. You know, I didn't just find your number. I also found your home address. Oh, I heard that you have a pregnant girlfriend and a cute daughter, right? Huh. Chun Zhao scratched his head. Tell me, what do you want? I said I want to meet you. Where? Come out of the hotel. I have a car to pick you up. Okay, I'm starting to look forward to our meeting. Chen Zhao took off his pajamas and changed into a suit. At the same time, he picked up his phone and called Klaus. Klaus, are you at the headquarters right now? Yes, President. What's up? Go dig up the things I buried by the lake a while ago, and then use a helicopter to transport them to Santiago as fast as possible. Also, track my phone's location. Oh, I got it. Chen Zhao walked out of the room and went downstairs. In the hotel lobby, he saw Robert standing there, scared out of his wits. Mr. Chun, where are you going? Chen Zhao didn't even look back. He walked out directly. It's none of your business. Go back to sleep. But Pierre's missing. He's from the basketball club. Mr. Chun, should we call the police? No, I'll bring him back now, Chen Zhao said calmly. Go to sleep now. Mr. Chun, how can I sleep now? I don't think you'll like where I'm going. Why? Just then, a few people rushed out from both sides. They covered Chen Zhao and Robert with black cloth and dragged them into the car. Ah, what are you doing? Help! Help! Suddenly, Robert felt like a hard stick was stuffed into his mouth. Shut up. If you speak again, I'll shoot you. Chapter 1154. Robert's mouth was stuffed with a gun the entire time. He was so scared that he didn't even dare to move. The car had been driving for more than half an hour, but they still hadn't arrived. It seemed that their destination was very far away. But to Chen Zhao, it didn't matter if he wore a hood or not. Fuck, why aren't you reacting at all? Scream, scream. One of the kidnappers saw that Chen Zhao didn't react at all. He didn't know if there was something wrong with him, but he felt very disappointed or perhaps insulted. Suddenly, Chen Zhao raised his hand and caught the gangster's fist in the dark. You can see, the gangster stared at Chen Zhao in shock. Chen Zhao was wearing a hood. How could he catch his attack? Was it a coincidence? I'm not in a good mood right now. Don't piss me off. Even though he was wearing a mask, Chen Zhao's tone made the gang members in the car feel chills down their spines. They didn't know why, but this guy was clearly the most dangerous. Fuck you, stop pretending. The gangster thought that Chen Zhao was pretending and wanted to attack him again. The gangster thought that Chen Zhao was pretending, so he wanted to attack him again. The gangster thought that Chen Zhao was pretending and wanted to attack him again. The next moment, the car was filled with the gangster's painful screams. Crack. Finally, there was silence. Other than Robert, who didn't know what was going on, the other gangsters all saw what happened in the car. Even the driver saw how Chen Zhao had killed their comrade through the rearview mirror. Chen Zhao was wearing a hood, but he first crushed his comrade's wrist and then twisted his neck. So noisy, Chen Zhao said casually. All the gangsters pointed their guns at Chen Zhao. If you want to get off alive, you better put down your guns. After all, I still need to lead the way. I don't want to fight halfway. Hearing Chen Zhao's arrogant tone, the gangsters found it funny. You have a gun pointed at your head. You forgot to load it, Chen Zhao reminded. The gangster was stunned. He hurriedly loaded his gun and continued pointing at Chen Zhao's head. However, the atmosphere had changed. Forget it. Boss Bob will kill you anyway. We don't need to do anything. That's right. You'll taste Boss Bob's horror. Not only you, but your wife and daughter will as well. Remember that policeman last time? Boss Bob mailed his wife's underwear to him. It's none of my business. It's none of my business. It's none of my business. Robert held his head and kept screaming in fear. After another half an hour, the car finally arrived at the port. Both Chen Zhao and Robert were pushed out of the car. Their hoods were also removed. Chen Zhao admired the night view. The workers around him were busy, as if they didn't see Chen Zhao and Robert being held hostage. These so-called workers were, in fact, gang members. They put on their work uniforms. This port was actually a parking lot during the day. Other than the gang members, no one knew the exact location of this place. This was also why this place could avoid the police's line of sight. On top of that, the police had also been infiltrated. Many of the judicial departments in the United States were actually connected to the gangs and even had some transactions. There were dozens of people in front of them, and at the feet of the fat leader was a man covered in bruises. It was Pierre. Bob looked at Chen Zhao and Robert. Why is there one more person? Where's Twick? Boss Bob, this guy's with him. Twick was killed by this Asian. It's none of my business. It's none of my business. Robert yelled in horror. Bob ignored Robert and looked at Chen Zhao. Mr. Chun, we finally meet. Let me introduce myself again. My name is Bob. The people you hurt today are my men, and the goods you destroyed are also mine. If you can't give me a satisfactory answer, your organs will appear on the European continent. Your wife will also appear there, and your daughter will be dismembered. By the way, I heard that you also have a pet. I like to eat dogs. Chen Zhao suddenly grinned. His smile was a bit twisted, and the curve of his lips was a bit scary. His eyes widened as he stared at Bob. What kind of answer do you want from me? I heard that you're very rich. How about this? You compensate me 100 times the price of the goods. That way, I can consider letting your wife and daughter go. Bob played with the ring on his finger. Do you know how I earn my wealth? Chen Zhao asked. How did you earn it? I'd really like to know. It's simple. I just kill people and some other things. As long as they're in my way, I usually kill them. Chen Zhao's smile was full of savagery. Just like this. Chen Zhao casually grabbed a gang member beside him. In front of Bob and dozens of people, he tore off the man's arm, leg, and stomach. The man screamed and begged for help, but everyone was stunned by Chen Zhao's terrifying methods. Chen Zhao used his bloody palm to stroke his hair. There was only one thought in everyone's mind. Even Robert didn't expect the usually polite Chen Zhao to have such a bloody and cruel side. Everyone pointed their guns at Chen Zhao. Bob's eyes flickered when he looked at Chen Zhao. He saw Chen Zhao's eyes. He saw the brutality in the man's eyes. Bob had hired quite a number of killers to help him deal with some of the dirty work. The killers' eyes were very similar to Chen Zhao's, but none of them would be as crazy and unscrupulous as Chen Zhao. Bob felt that he wasn't facing a human, but a beast. A crazy beast. Seeing that dozens of guns were pointed at him, Robert was so scared that he peed his pants. He really peed his pants. It's over, it's over. Robert's face paled in fear. I hate being threatened, especially when it involves my family. The bones in Chen Zhao's body made crackling sounds. But you can't do anything now. Bob felt that Chen Zhao might be the boss of some force, but he had no way out now. What he needed to consider now wasn't whether the force behind Chen Zhao would take revenge. Instead, he needed to kill Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao glanced at the time on his watch. It's about time. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of a helicopter came from the night sky. Just then, everyone saw an armed helicopter appear above the port. However, there was a machine hanging below the helicopter. Chapter 1155. Enemy Attack. Enemy Attack. Before the gangsters could react, the military helicopter and the Lightning team members who were already in position formed an arc-shaped encirclement. Of course, it wasn't accurate to call it an encirclement. After all, including the military helicopter, there were only 6 of them. There were at least 100 of Bob's men and the workers. However, the Lightning team had brought powerful firepower this time. The 2 gun barrels on the landing gear of the military helicopter suddenly spat out tongues of fire. The other 5 Lightning team members in different corners also attacked at the same time. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Robert and Pierre both hugged their heads and lay on the ground. The people around them were riddled with holes and fell to the ground one after another. Counterattack! 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 Bob shouted with all his might, but he also hugged his head and lay on the ground. Chen Zhao was the only one left standing. It wasn't that the gangsters didn't want to fight back, but they were armed with pistols. They were facing the military helicopter and automatic weapons. The military helicopter used 12mm armor-piercing bullets. They could even penetrate regular armored vehicles. If they hit a person, their body would be destroyed immediately. Klaus and the others were holding heavy machine guns, the kind that needed a rack to shoot. However, they were holding them in their hands. These weapons could fire more than 200 rounds per minute. Moreover, they had the high ground. In this situation, the gangsters couldn't fight back at all. Bob kept holding the pistol in his hand, but he didn't fire a single shot. He didn't even have the courage to look up. Chen Zhao's voice rang in his ears. Kill everyone in this port. Don't leave a single one alive." The military helicopter whistled, and the gunshots grew further away. However, the screams were endless. Robert and Pierre were also terrified. Just like Bob, they hugged their heads and curled up on the ground in fear. The air was filled with the pungent smell of blood and the smoke that made people cry uncontrollably. This killing process lasted for about 10 minutes. Finally, Bob heard the second person's voice. "President, they're all dead." There were flames in the distance. The lightning team was setting the place on fire. They wanted to burn the entire port. "Give me what I want," Chun Zhao said. The military helicopter landed slowly. Klaus and the others had flown at maximum speed to carry out Chun Zhao's orders. In an hour, they had traveled 400 kilometers. The meat grinder was still as good as new. The lightning squad still had 10 minutes to dig it out from the ground and clean it while they were at it. Cass didn't know what Chun Zhao wanted to do, but he could hear Chun Zhao's tone. It was the prelude to a volcano eruption. Someone had angered him. "Mr. Bob, aren't you going to look up and see where you belong?" Chun Zhao asked. Bob raised his head and looked around. At this moment, his face was extremely pale. He realized that he was in big trouble. He was not the owner of this port. He was just the manager. This port was jointly owned by the three major forces of San Diego. But now, the port was completely destroyed. "Do you know what you're doing?" "I know. Of course I know what I'm doing," Chun Zhao said with a smile. "You're threatening my family." Chun Zhao looked at Bob and then at Klaus. "Start this mincing machine." Rumble. The mincing machine emitted a deafening sound. Chun Zhao walked up. Bob tried to resist, but Chun Zhao kicked Bob's gun-wielding arm first. The kick broke it, and the arm flew into Bob's mouth. Bob screamed in pain. His right arm was a bloody mess. Chun Zhao picked up Bob's foot and dragged him to the mincing machine. "No, let me go, let me go. I won't do it again. I apologize for my inappropriate words earlier. Sorry, I can't accept it." Whoosh! Ah! Chun Zhao stuffed Bob's foot into the entrance of the mincing machine. Blood sprayed out from the entrance. Bob's tenacious life force did not kill him immediately. He was still struggling. He finally realized that he had offended a demon. There was no pity or sympathy. He could only endure hell and despair, complaining with heart-wrenching screams. Even though Bob's legs were completely crushed, he was still alive, not dead immediately. But now, he no longer had the strength to scream. His stomach had sunk into the mincing machine. Just then, the mincing machine suddenly stopped. Chun Zhao turned off the switch and looked at Bob, who was still stuck in the mincing machine. "That's perfect. Have a good night." Chun Zhao looked at Robert and Pierre. "You can leave now. By the way, Pierre violated the school rules tonight. He came out to drink and got into a fight outside the school. Find him and give him a demerit." The two nodded. They did not dare to look at Bob's tragic state. This was an even crueler butcher than Bob. Early morning, Bolton, go to the outskirts 30 kilometers away, immediately. What happened? Bolton was sleeping with his wife in his arms. "We found the legendary port of sin." Bolton suddenly woke up from his bed. "How did you find it?" "There was a gunfight last night." "No, more accurately, it was a massacre." "I'll go immediately. Send me the exact location." San Diego was very busy today. Almost all the police officers were heading toward the same location. When Bolton arrived at the port, he saw a few police officers surrounding a mincing machine. "Hey, Dawes." "Bolton, you're here. Is there a war here?" "Yes, but it's a one-sided war. Look at what this is. 12mm armor-piercing bullets? Do the gangs all use this kind of weapon in fights nowadays?" At this moment, the two policemen behind dragged a person down from the machine. "Huh. Wah." Bolton immediately vomited, while the other colleagues all had gloating expressions on their faces. Bob's intestines were all out. His lower body was empty. He died from the pain. The entire place had been burned down, but it was still relatively clean. Isn't that Bob? Who did he offend? Mexicans? Colombians? Mafia? According to the investigation, Bob is the manager of this port, which is owned by three forces. It can't be them. Other than these three forces, who else has this kind of ability? Who else has such cruel methods? "That's what we need to investigate," Dawes said. They're a group of evil people. Chapter 1156. This. Dawes took out a staff card. This is. Bob took the card. Robert, UCLA basketball coach. We found them in this car. In the entire port, only this car and the meat grinder were not destroyed. We also found a relatively intact corpse in the car. His neck was broken. Any other clues? In front of the mincing machine, apart from Bob's blood and muscle tissue, we also found the blood and teeth of a second person. This person's body was not found at the scene. At present, this person's blood and muscle tissue have been sent to the laboratory for analysis and sample comparison. Just then, Dawes' phone rang. 2 minutes after Dawes took the phone, he said to Bolton, "The sample comparison results are out." He's a student from UCLA and also a member of the school's basketball team. His name is Pierre. He's in a hotel in San Diego right now. He's here to participate in the university games. What about Robert? He's also staying in this hotel. Leave these two to me. I'll investigate them. Bolton rushed to the hotel and asked the front desk, which UCLA students were staying at. "Sir, please wait a moment," the receptionist said. "I'll call the UCLA team leader." Chun Zhao received the call and went to the front desk. Chun Zhao studied Bolton. "Sir, how can I help you?" "I want to see UCLA basketball coach Robert and student Pierre," Bolton said. "May I ask why they're here?" "They're related to a case. I need their help." "Okay, please follow me." Chun Zhao called Robert. "Robert, a police officer is looking for you. He says he needs your help. Come to the lobby with Pierre immediately." It was not long before Robert and Pierre arrived. Bolton glanced at Robert's staff card and handed it to him. "Mr. Robert, this is yours, right?" When Robert saw the card, his expression changed. He really didn't realize that he'd lost his card. "Yes, this word pass was left in a van. I'd like to ask, Mr. Robert, where did you and Pierre go last night?" "Pierre went out to drink last night and messed with some hooligans. I want to bring him back," Robert said. Pierre was also given a demerit for this. "You went to the port on the outskirts last night, right?" "Yes." Robert seemed a little nervous. "Mr. Pierre, I'd like to know who beat you last night. I don't know their exact identities. Probably a local gang. Who were the people who drank with you?" "I was alone. I bought a bottle of wine and drank it on the street. Because I vomited at the feet of a group of people, they dragged me into a car. I don't know where exactly, but I was beaten up." Pierre's face was still bruised, so his words seemed to be credible. Bolton didn't think that Pierre or Robert were related to this case. From their personal information, they were all very ordinary. He did not have any criminal records, nor did he have any dealings with any gangs. Did anything special happen during this process? Is a special process for me to be beaten? Pierre asked. Bolton stroked his beard. "Mr. Robert, why is your work badge in that gang's car?" "I was told to pick up Pierre, and I was dragged into the car too," Robert said calmly. "I think my work pass fell off during the tug." Both Robert and Pierre were terrified, and they were trying their best to control their emotions. They did not dare to expose themselves because Chun Zhao was watching from the side. If they had said another word, they might have ended up like Bob, dying without a whole corpse. This police officer didn't know that Chun Zhao was the real Demon King. He was the culprit. So the gang let you and Mr. Pierre go so easily after you arrived? What else? What should they do? They won't kill us, right? Bolton was stunned. Robert's words seemed to make some sense, but something was wrong. As for what was wrong, he couldn't tell. The only thing he was sure of was that the two of them were definitely not the culprits. "All right. Thank you for your cooperation. If there's anything else I need, I'll need your help." Bolton stood up and left. After a few steps, he turned back. He saw Robert and Pierre looking at Chun Zhao with fear in their eyes. Bolton returned. "Mr. Chun, can I ask you a few questions?" "No, I don't have time," Chun Zhao said, standing up. "Daddy." At this moment, a childish voice came from behind Bolton. Turning around, Bolton saw a beautiful pregnant woman and a little girl walking toward them. Chun Zhao smiled immediately. He picked up Jerlin, who ran over happily. "Baby, do you miss Dad?" "Excuse me." Chun Zhao glanced at Bolton. Carrying Jerlin, he went upstairs with Fei Lai. Bolton looked at Chun Zhao's back. He was a bit hesitant about what had just happened. However, he could not find anything suspicious about Chen Zhao. He could only ask for Chen Zhao's cooperation, but Chen Zhao also had the right to refuse unless he could show some evidence. "Is Mr. Chen your school's leader?" "He's a professor," Roberts said. "He's different from me." Looking at Chen Zhao's back, Bolton felt even more helpless. There's a great deal of risk in offending a man of high social standing. Being a university professor was undoubtedly the most respected profession. Thus, Bolton could only give up on pestering Chen Zhao. After Chen Zhao and Fei Lai entered the elevator, Fei Lai asked, "That person was a police officer, right? What did you do last night?" "In Chinese terms, I got rid of evil for the people, upheld justice, and protected my students." Chen Zhao did not want to continue this topic, so he changed it decisively. "Did you drive here today? Or by train?" "Train." To be honest, the train in America was not pleasant. The slow speed and having to stop at every station made the experience unpleasant. Comparatively speaking, the domestic railway system was much more complete. Of course, this was also because there were a lot of people in the country. There were fewer drivers, so there was a certain dependence on the railway. Of course, the railway system was more powerful. America also had high-speed rail, but the coverage was much lower. Chapter 1157. Robert and Pierre glanced at each other and heaved a long sigh of relief. They'd finally gotten rid of the police officer. They didn't want to be enemies with Chen Zhao. They'd seen Chen Zhao's subordinates kill more than 100 people with their own eyes. At the same time, there was Bob. To them, it was a shadow that they couldn't get rid of. And this incident had alarmed far more than just the police. At the moment, the atmosphere in a club in San Diego was especially heavy. The club belonged to the Jarovitz family, but today, two groups of uninvited guests had arrived. The entire club was in a tense atmosphere. The Colombian and Mexican gangs came to the club together. "Barsaco, Gazeville, what's the meaning of this?" Mollisman looked at the two in front. "The port that our three parties jointly run has been destroyed." "Mr. Mollisman, aren't you going to explain?" Barsaco stared at Mollisman. He wanted to find some clues from Mollisman's expression. Mollisman frowned. "You think I did it? Who else could it be other than you?" Although the port was jointly owned by the three parties, the Jarovitz family had always wanted to wash their hands clean. Therefore, many businesses had been sold or transferred. Therefore, the share of the port's profits was very small. Most of the time, the Mexican and Colombian gangs were happy to see this. But now that something had happened to the port, the first person they thought of was the Jarovitz family. "I didn't do it." "You can leave," Mollisman said. Then he planned to chase the two away. "You think it's not me? Show me the evidence," Barsaco said relentlessly. Raising an eyebrow, Mollisman turned to look at Barsaco. "My words are the evidence. Our family never hides our true intentions. If we did it, we won't lie." Barsaco and Gazeville were angry at Mollisman's perfunctory attitude, but they just wanted to know the truth now. After all, the destroyed port was too great a loss for them. Large amounts of goods were piled up in their hands and couldn't be transported out. Their goods on the sea couldn't be sent in either. The daily losses made them cry. Of course, Mollisman was the most suspicious, but it wasn't very likely. Although Mollisman had the least interest in the port, it did not mean that they had no interest at all. "I believe you, Mr. Morrisman," said Gazeville. Barasco's face was filled with displeasure. What Gazeville said meant that he was being isolated. "But don't you want to find the real murderer?" "No," Mollisman said indifferently. "Of course, if you find the real culprit, you can inform me. I also want to see who did it." Mollisman was very curious as to what kind of person could have such powerful strength. From the information he had received, the other party did not have many people, but their firepower was terrifying. They even found traces of an armed helicopter. This made Mollisman suspect that the military was involved. Although there were many private planes in the United States, it was almost impossible for anyone other than the military to own an armed helicopter. This was also the reason why Mollisman did not want to delve into it. In the United States, he could argue with everything. He could go against the government, But he couldn't go against the military. There were people from their family in the government, but the military did not allow the mafia to interfere. Therefore, Mollisman had always pursued the principle of keeping a low profile, especially when it came to people with sensitive identities. From all the traces at the scene, the other party had a powerful background. "Coward," Barasco said unhappily. Mollisman sneered inwardly. He was different from these barbarians. If it was profitable, the mafia's methods would not be any weaker than theirs. But if it was meaningless violence, it would only attract more attention from their enemies. This was also why members of the Jarovitz family could walk openly on the streets. As for the two gangs, they could only survive in the dark corners. Since Mr. Mollisman doesn't care about this attack, I presume you don't care about the interests of the port. How about this? This time, Barasco and I will investigate, but Mr. Mollisman will not be involved in the reconstruction of the port, Gazeville said. Barasco's eyes lit up. This was a good excuse to share the interests of the port with Gazeville. Okay. Mollisman smiled. These two idiots thought of things too simply. The port had been able to exist for so many years because of the joint maintenance of the three parties. Without anyone, the port could not continue to operate. They were actually naive enough to doubt that they could eliminate him with this move. It was really wishful thinking. Soon, they would come to him for help. Barasco and Gazeville left the clubhouse unhappily. Mollisman snapped his fingers, and a neatly dressed butler with slicked back hair came to Mollisman. "Do you have any clues here?" Last night, San Diego's local air traffic control received an order. There was an armed helicopter flying over downtown San Diego at 2:25 in the morning, the butler said. Mollisman thought to himself that it was indeed not simple. He could actually send an order to the air traffic control. Which party sent the order? California Anti-Terrorism Department. Mollisman gasped. The functions of the Anti-Terrorism Department and the police were similar, but the authority of action was completely different. Since 9/2, the anti-terrorism departments in the United States had implemented a high-control policy, which was the so-called suspicion was dangerous policy. As long as anyone or any force was suspected of being related to terrorist acts, they would be under absolute control, and any extraordinary means of violence could be used. Is there any more information? The phone device Bob used was a communications company under his family's name. From Bob's phone records in the last 3 hours, he made a total of 2 calls. One was a UCLA student named Pierre, and the other was a university professor, a Chinese. What's so special about these 2 calls? There's nothing special about Pierre, but the university professor has another identity, an illegal doctor. He's been in America for more than a year, but he used self-defense as an excuse and killed no less than 30 people. He's an out-and-out butcher. Oh, Mollisman's interest was piqued. It was not a skill to kill many people. Some of the gunmen and their family had killed dozens of people. Chapter 1158. Is there any more information about this person? This person has earned $100 million a year, the butler said. Up until now, he seems to have tax-free privileges. Mollisman's eyes glinted. How scary was the IRS? The IRS dared to collect taxes from drug lords. There was once a famous drug lord who was investigated by the IRS for tax evasion and then arrested by the FBI. But tax-free privileges. How much power did one have to have? Of course, the tax-free privilege was hidden. It couldn't be blatantly said, "I don't have to pay taxes." People like Mollisman wouldn't be able to get it in their entire lives. No matter how developed their families were, they wouldn't be able to get this privilege. This matter ends here. Don't pursue it any further. There was only one person floating out of the water now, but it had already involved the anti-terrorism department. This was a taboo area for people of their status. If the other party realized that they were investigating, it might cause a misunderstanding. The final result would be hard to say. In the 1970s, the mafia had tried to control the FBI. In the end, the 5 families all fled New York City. This was a taboo that they couldn't touch. Chun Zhao carried Jerlin with one hand and held Fei Lai's hand with the other. But the moment they left the hotel, Chun Zhao felt that someone was watching them. Chun Zhao's brows furrowed slightly, But he soon understood. He didn't want to act strangely in front of Fei Lai. So, he pretended that nothing had happened and sat in their rented car to go shopping. The people who were spying on them were still following them. A cold glint flashed across Chun Zhao's eyes. So annoying. With Fei Lai beside him, Chun Zhao couldn't do anything on the street. Chen, what are you doing? You look so restless. What are you thinking about? Nothing. I just feel that San Diego is a bit unfamiliar. I'm trying to think of a fun place. Let's go to the beach. San Diego's Grand Canyon coast is a famous surfing mecca. Don't think about surfing like this. Chen Zhao looked at Fei Lai's stomach. I don't care. After our new home is built, I can surf whenever I want. Fei Lai was looking forward to the completion of her new home. Generally, in order to become a surfing mecca, a few conditions must be met. First, the height and speed of the waves must be high. Second, there must be no dangerous creatures, such as sharks. Many coastlines had the height and speed of the waves, but there were too many sharks, making it impossible for surfers to go into the water. For example, their new home was the same. Back then, Amira had bought it to create a golden beach. But because of the sharks, the plan was ruined. In the United States, it was not allowed to reduce the number of sharks by killing them. Otherwise, the people from the Animal Protection Organization would come looking for them. I don't want to go into the water. I just want to take a look. Fei Lai had been away from her post for too long and was a bit bored. All right. 2 adults and 1 child arrived at the Grand Canyon Beach. The reason why it was called the Grand Canyon Beach was because there was an ocean canyon 100 meters away from the coastline. It was precisely because of this underwater canyon that the current changed and formed huge waves. See, roar. Little Jerlin screamed. Chun Zhao facepalmed. Where did Jerlin learn to speak in such a weird way? It must be those little bastards at home. When he went back, he would interrogate them one by one and skin them alive. Little Jerlin immediately wanted to take off her clothes. When she was at home, she could go into the water whenever she wanted. Chun Zhao immediately stopped her. What a joke. Where was this? It wasn't his home. Even if she was a child, people might call the police if she was exposed here. Also, there were many perverts in the United States. Dad, I want to go. Little Jerlin squirmed in Chun Zhao's arms. Forget it. I'll go buy a small swimsuit. Fei Lai, can you let it go? It wasn't that Fei Lai couldn't go into the water, but that she couldn't wear a swimsuit. It was tight-fitting and not suitable for pregnant women. The swimsuit at home was specially designed for Fei Lai by Zola's company, but they didn't bring it. I won't go in, Fei Lai said. The water outside isn't clean. Fei Lai didn't go in, so Chun Zhao didn't go either. He just sat with Fei Lai on the beach. After changing into her swimsuit, little Jerlin played on the beach. However, Chun Zhao's gaze didn't leave Jerlin. The wave from here to the shore was more than 80 centimeters, so Chun Zhao was worried that it would wash over Jerlin. Just then, a sudden voice rang out. Barbarians. Chun Zhao turned around and saw a few young people, both men and women. Everyone was holding a surfboard. They all looked at Chun Zhao. However, Chun Zhao didn't recognize them at all. Who are you? Did you forget? Barbarians. I don't know. Hearing that, Chun Zhao had completely forgotten about them. The young people were even more furious. We're from UCSF's swim team. Oh, I remember. Chun Zhao slapped his head. It's you guys. Are your arms and legs healed? How dare you appear before me? Thinking of Chun Zhao's terrifying combat ability, the students became timid again. However, one of them mustered up his courage and said, Do you dare to hit us here? Idiot. Chun Zhao rolled his eyes. He didn't even want to bother with these kids. The past was the past. Chun Zhao didn't want to cause trouble for them anymore. However, if they insisted on messing with Chun Zhao, he didn't mind teaching them a lesson. Asian, do you dare to compete with us in surfing? Boring. Chun Zhao pouted. These kids couldn't pique Chun Zhao's interest at all. Coward. Yeah, you only know how to bully people. Coward. Even the accompanying girls started mocking Chun Zhao. Darling, go. Since they want to embarrass themselves, let them know that you won't lose to them in any aspect. Chun Zhao didn't mind, but Fei Lai did. She was mocking her man right in front of her. If it were in the past, Fei Lai would do it herself. However, she had a big belly now and couldn't do it. There were formal competitions in surfing, and the scoring method was more orthodox. After the peak of the wave, the longer one maintained it, and the more difficult moves one could make, the higher the score. Chapter 1159. Fine, Chen Zhao said. Since we're going to compete, we'll use the point system. Also, choose someone to compete with me. Everyone looked at each other. In the end, the leader ran out. I'll compete with you, the leader said. Villiers, don't embarrass UCSF. Don't worry. You already lost last year. Chen Zhao didn't give them any face. It doesn't matter. You've already lost your face last year. Chen Zhao didn't want to give them any face. Because of the boxing club incident, all the UCSF students felt embarrassed. It also affected their mentality. Because of the boxing club incident, all of the UCSF students felt humiliated, and it affected their own psychology as well. They didn't think that fighting was embarrassing. In fact, even UCLA thought so. They didn't think it was embarrassing to fight. In fact, even UCLA thought so. The key was that he took the initiative to pick a fight with someone, but in the end, he lost. Most of the students had experienced last year's incident. When they heard Chen Zhao's words, they were all furious. Usually, they'd fight impulsively after being insulted like that. Normally, they'd definitely fight impulsively after being insulted like that. But before Chen Zhao, they really didn't have the courage. Fight Chen Zhao. They probably wouldn't die fast enough. The waves are perfect right now. Don't waste time. Come, Chen Zhao urged. Oh, lend me a surfboard. Chen Zhao didn't care if they were willing or not. He snatched a surfboard. 3, 2, 1, start. Holding the boards, Chen Zhao and Villiers charged into the water at the same time. First, they paddled and waited for the waves to come. The highest waves on the Grand Canyon beach could go over 18 meters. Usually, it was a good surfing beach if it could go over 8 meters. Normal people wouldn't dare to surf there. If they encountered a huge wave over 18 meters, they'd get hurt. Villiers was faster than Chen Zhao. He looked back at Chen Zhao mockingly. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. This was a surfing competition, not a paddling competition. What's the point of being fast? By then, the two had already paddled to the waves. Villiers stood on the board first. Chen Zhao also stood on the surfboard. Then it was time to get on the waves. The two controlled the boards and slid up. Getting on the waves was already a score. Being able to get on the waves without falling was 5 points. It had to be said that Villiers' technique was quite good. He managed to get up and down twice in a row. Chen Zhao leaned back and stepped on the bottom of the skateboard with one foot. The front end was completely lifted up. He maintained a stable posture, neither up nor down in the middle of the wave wall. What move is that? That's climbing the wall, said a student who was familiar with surfing, but his face was quite heavy. This is a very difficult move. By then, the waves had already arrived. Both Chen Zhao and Villiers lowered their center of gravity. The two of them, one in front and one behind, were running away from the wall of waves. Logically speaking, Chen Zhao, who was at the back, was at a greater disadvantage. But Chen Zhao kept his composure. On the other hand, Villiers' body began to sway, and both of them were engulfed by the waves. As for Villiers, he lost his balance and fell heavily into the sea. Chen Zhao successfully passed through the wall of waves. He stood firmly on the skateboard and continued to row forward. Everyone's expressions were ugly. It was obvious that Villiers had lost. In terms of technique, it wasn't as difficult as Chen Zhao. In terms of stability, it wasn't as stable as Chen Zhao. The difference wasn't just a little bit. Chen Zhao returned to the shore first and tossed the skateboard to the UCSF students. You people from UCSF are so useless. How dare you challenge me with such little skill? Go back and drink milk for a few more years. Chen Zhao's words were quite unpleasant. But just then, a woman in a swimsuit walked over. Kid, are you insulting UCSF? You're from UCSF too? Then I'll admit it. Chen Zhao shrugged. I'll compete with you, the woman said. Are all UCSF people so sore losers? You win one and then another, just like last year's sports day. Chen Zhao's tone was rather arrogant. You can call them losers, but you can't call UCSF people that bad. This is the power of the winner, just like last year. Which school are you from? You're not a student, right? You should be a teacher or coach from another university. Do you think it's glorious to win against a bunch of students? Last year, they challenged me and I won, so it's glorious. Now, they're challenging me again and I won again. Do you think I should feel ashamed? The woman turned to the UCSF students. Which university is he from? The students didn't know this woman, but she must be a senior from their school. At least they were on the same side. He's a professor at UCLA. Professor? Isn't he a coach or PE teacher? He's the coach of the boxing club and the swimming team, Villiers said. So your best events are boxing and swimming, right? I'll find someone and you can compete with him. Not interested, Chun Zhao said disinterestedly. Are you scared? If I have to accept everyone's challenge, wouldn't I be too busy? $1 million. If you can beat this person, I won't pursue your inappropriate comments. If you lose, you have to publicly apologize. Chun, if this lady wants to give you money, why don't you accept? Fei Lai asked. I don't want to waste such a good time for $1 million. Miss, this man's boxing skills are very strong. He crippled Douglas with one punch. Hearing this, the woman's expression changed. Then she said, let's compete in swimming. Fei Lai snorted. This woman probably didn't know how to write the word death. How good was Chun Zhao swimming? Even fish in the water couldn't swim faster than Chun Zhao. Darling, it's time to show you how good you are, Fei Lai said. You're comparing us? Of course not. I'm looking for someone. Fine, but you better hurry up. I don't want to waste time. Half an hour, the woman said. Okay, I'll give you half an hour. Oh, you better prepare $1 million too. Don't go back on your words. The woman jogged to the changing room and picked up her phone. Evalie, come to the Grand Canyon Beach immediately. Barisa, what do you want me to do? Don't worry about that. Hurry up. Don't forget that you still owe me. Does that mean I'll return the favor if I go? That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.